All right, guys. We are live. We are here for the Bayou Battles 2016 Round 1 matchup cast. I am Mark Cox. Jeff Swan, you're here. We've got Jeff Daniels, we've got Sean Bright, and we've got the TO himself, Rick Hoy. We're going to start this like we always start, Jeff. What am I drinking and what am I drinking out of?
Well, I'm drinking out of my Bayou Battles 2014. Is that 14, Rick, or 13?
That was, I think that was last year's.
Is it? I have the etched one, too. I thought the etched one was from last year.
I thought that one was 2 years ago. I don't know. I've lost track. I got too many.
10-year anniversary.
Well,
you can't
we're
get
talking
best
Bayou Battles, so I'm drinking out of my Bayou Battles glass, and I am drinking a Ballast Point Habanero Sculpin.
Nice. All right, I have got my A&M mug, which holds 2 beers at a time, conveniently enough, so it shortens the refill time. I am drinking Coronas because it was like 100-something degrees outside, so Coronas and a couple of lime. Anybody else drinking?
I am drinking out of my 20-ounce Alamo Draft House passport mug. Great state of Texas, Shiner Bock.
Awesome. Sean?
Yeah, Texas.
Once I get a break, I'm going to go look in my freezer for some vodka and maybe some orange juice.
You know you're going to do vodka and cranberry.
I don't have any cranberry. I wish. It's a natural diuretic.
Gonna drink some cooking sherry?
Put an umbrella.
Yeah, I'm not drinking cooking wine this last time, because last time on the counter charge, I might have gone a little crazy.
All right, Rick, and we'll leave it with you, man.
All right. Well, I am drinking out of the 10-year anniversary Bayou glass. And
Nice.
And I am drinking a Resin, which is an IPA from the 6 Point Brewery in Brooklyn, New York. 103 IBUs, so for you hopheads, it's a good drink.
Boom! Kick in the mouth.
Pass.
Exactly. All right.
All right, Rick, you want to give us some Bayou history, and then we'll get started?
All right, so this year is number 13 for Bayou Battles. We started way back in 2004, and we've basically been going strong ever since. We reached our peak of 92 people who attended. I think that was 2012. And this year, after the switch over to Kings of War, looks like we're going to have 49 people who are actually playing. So we will have a ringer coming in and filling out the last spot there. Yeah, we got a good crowd coming in. We got 2 coming in from California. We've got 2 coming in from Louisiana. We got 1 coming in from Arkansas. And then the rest from the usual locations in and around Texas.
Nice.
49 is super solid right now, man. Like that's second biggest
solid
in the country so far this year.
Anything they've had in the UK too.
Yeah, it's huge by comparison. So pretty good.
Nice. All right, guys. Rick, you want to tell us who's on table 1, and guys, get ready to start reading.
All right. So table 1, we have Justin May against Kenzie Vogt. So I guess, Jeff, you're get Justin's list there.
Yeah, so just in case you've never watched the round matchups and how we go over this stuff, we're just going to read what the people have and give our honest opinion on which way it's going to go one way or the other. This is not necessarily how it will go exactly. We're just saying, on our educated guesses, knowing the people, knowing the armies, this is who they're going to get to play, and it's just a fun little thing we do. It's not anything serious, so don't come up to me at Bayou and be like, oh, man, I can't believe you said I'm going to lose, and blah, blah, blah. So it's just for fun. So that all being said, Rick, also notable, is this a 20-0 scale, or is this a 16-4 scale?
This is a 16-4. It's kind of a modified 0-20, so there is a gradational scale from 10-10. You can go 11 to 9, and then there's a 13, and then a 15, and then a 16.
Okay.
So it's kind of a gradational scale through there.
Step notched, and then you'll have bonus VP type of situation.
Right. 4 bonus points at the end, which some people might be able to get both of them. Some of them only one person will be able to get.
So on a whole scale, we're talking 20 points, but as far as battling goes, it's going to be closer to a 16-4.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Just good to know. All right, so we'll go ahead and start out here. We've got a horde of shooters because we're playing ogres. Oh, no, we're not. We're playing abyssals, but we're just taking ogres shooters because it's what you do. So we've got a horde of ogre shooters. Nothing on them, which is peculiar since we are allowing it at Bayou. So odd. Okay, and then we've got a regiment of fleshlings. Pretty small. You use those for chaff, I would assume. We've got lower abyssals. We got that twice. Those are hordes. So those will be his mainstays to block up stuff, hold it down, and bring the rest of the fun in to join the party. He's got a chaff unit of imps, which are a regiment of 3. Monstrous infantry, but height 0 for those who don't know. They're your swarms. Tortured souls, a horde of 6. No items at all still. And then we've got a troop of hellhounds. They only come in a troop, so he had added fire oil to that. So depending on who he's playing, that could be pretty advantageous on hellhounds. Particularly, I like to run them that way as well. He's got 2 Ifrits. Those are both naked as well, so he'll have 40 fireballs with no piercing on them. He's got a Well of Souls, one of my favorite tactical deployments in this list. And he's got an Archfiend of the Abyss. He's got the Brew of Haste and Fly. I'm wondering if he did that for points, just because he didn't have the points to get something more significant on him. Because his only magic items in this list are a fire oil and a +1 movement. So he only has 20 points of magic items in the list.
Probably spares. But that's a good spare to pick up on something that flies.
Yeah, 22-inch charge.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd take a Blade of Slashing instead, personally. But anyway. Mark, who's he playing? Where are
That's
they
a good
bringing?
question. Sean, what
He's playing Kinsey.
Sean, gotcha.
Sprinkles.
God, Jeff can't read.
I thought it was Mark, sorry. My bad. My bad.
Hey man, he got through that list pretty well.
Golly, he did.
Hooked on phonics
an
works.
entire list.
So it's me and Sean all podcast. Great.
No, maybe. So we got elves. Kinsey's elves. She's got a regiment of archers with Chant of Hate, horde of archers with the Brew of Keeninus. She's got a troop of the Hunters of the Wild with Crystal Pendant of Retribution, and I can't talk. Stormwind Cavalry Regiment with a Macwar's Potion. Dragon Riders with a Brew of Sharpness. Argus Rodinar. I don't know what the hell that is.
Special character.
Okay. Army Standard Bearer on a horse and the Scrying Gem. We got 2 Elven Mages, one with Fireball, both with Bane Chant. One of them's on a horse, and has the Amulet of the Fireheart. Then we got the Green Lady, and the Green Lady's Wild Guard with Blessing of the Gods.
Nice. Love those Wild Guard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bringing some heat.
Hate.
Is the Green Lady's Wild Guard? Are those the only ones that are not elite?
They are not, because they're Hunters of the Wild. They're from the Force of Nature. Technically, they're like your Dryads. But because they're hers, they actually have regen.
Yes.
Cool.
So they'll get the Vanguard and Defense 4 and have regen. Lots of attacks. Very, very good tactical unit. So.
Cool. Well, I think she's gonna win.
Okay.
I didn't really pay too much attention to the other guys' list. I'm just gonna vote. Do this. And
Sean.
other guy.
All right, let's go back to Jeff. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, well, being an Abyssal player and hearing what hearing what Kinsey's list is, I just think that he has everything that you don't want to see. He's got tons of stay power in here with those lower abyssals with the regen on them, their defense 4. He can really take quite a bit of punishment. He can really just wall off, let the Ifrits get some damage done on the units that need to get it done. The Ogre Shooters, I think, are a misstep. You don't need them. They're completely pointless in this list, if I'm being honest. It's a 230-point sink for a shooting unit that hits on 5s that you don't need. If you need to kill high defense stuff, you've got an Archfiend, Tortured Souls, and a Well of Souls. It's a waste of points. Yeah, I think in this matchup, he's going to have enough stuff to screen what he needs to screen off of the shooting, and he has chaff where Kenzie doesn't really have chaff of note, and he's going to be able to delete her chaff pretty much immediately if he wants to. So, list on list, I'm going to go with the Abyssals, and we're going to say he's probably going to go with like a 14-point win, and then depending on what the extra VP is, if we're going straight up, I would rather have this Abyssal list on the table.
Okay. Just so everyone knows, it's a 1,001 point difference to get the max 16.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's why I was going like 14.
16.
Ain't no way he's getting 1,000 points off for her. So, but 1,000 point difference. Sorry.
True. Jeff Daniels, thoughts?
Yeah, so I echo in a little bit of what Sean said, or Jeff said. The one thing that those ogres scream is I haven't been to a major GT in a while, and I'm worried about flyers and what other people are bringing. And, this is a non-Clash of Kings tournament, so I kind of see why he put them in there, but I agree that they're not really needed. He's got more than enough punch in there. On Kenzie's side, she really built a list, especially around that little special character who has an interesting ability to automatically have a unit pass all of their route tests. And it goes until her next turn.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Green Lady, and she's got a lot of staying power there, but I think the Abyssals just have too much punch. I don't think it's going to 20-0, but I think they pull it.
See, I can kind of see the need for the ogre shooters just because he doesn't have any other long-range shooting. He's got punch, but he's got to fly those punch out if he really wants to punch with them. The ogre shooters let him stay back a turn and maybe pick something off. I'm not saying that's going to happen in this game, but I'm saying I can understand probably the motivation of why he brought it. On the other hand, I'm going to go against the curve here, and I actually see a couple of pretty cool little tricks that Kenzie can pull with her list. If you want to load up on one of her units, that's fine. She'll just make that one pass its nerve test for a round, and hopefully by the time that it gets back around to it, she's healed it up with the Green Lady and everything else. Especially if it's like a regen unit. Good lord.
I don't think it auto passes, right? It just has the inspiring rule regardless of whether it has inspiring.
I was just looking it up. I think it is a.
I'll double check it.
Nerve test must be rerolled as if it's an inspiring unit, yeah.
Right, yeah. I mean, so it's not an auto pass,
okay.
But I mean, once they get out there, out of your bubble,
it's going to be out of your range, yeah.
Right.
Still useful, not as useful as I thought it was. But yeah, I mean, she's got tricks. She's going to get to see more of his deployment because she's got that scrying gem there. She had a fair number of drops. They're probably pretty even on drop numbers, so. I think if she uses that Green Lady just right, a little running speed bump with her, and if she can pull a couple of tricks off with that Retribution unit, you can see a pretty big swing. I'm not going to go big win, but I'll probably give her like a 13-point win.
Okay.
Rick, ideas?
I agree with a lot of what everyone else has said. But I do think that Abyssal list is just going to be a little too much for her to handle. She's a smart player. She has, she understands how that list will play. But I think she'll keep it a little bit closer than what the Jeffs were thinking. It'll probably be maybe a 12-point win for Justin. That's what I'm guessing.
Gotcha.
Love you, Kenzie.
Screw you, I'm taking this charge anyway.
I'm going to just charge it anyway. I don't even care.
All right, so Table 2, who do we have?
Table 2 is one of our challenges. We have Jen Starling from California against Jody Stubblefield.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I've got Jen's list, and she is bringing the forces of Basileia. She has a horde of Alohi. She has 2 regiments of the Panther Cav units, a horde of Panther chariots with the Caterpillar, another horde of the Panther chariots, nothing on them. She's got Julius, the Dragon of the Heaven, and then she's got 1, 2, 3 Phoenixes. So One magic item. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drops. Whole lot of speed in here. The slowest unit is move 9.
Yep.
Lots of stuff is flying. Lots of stuff has nimble. If she plays the movement game right, man, she can move around however she wants. Jeff Daniels, what's Jody bringing to the store?
Mr. Jody Stubblefield. So he's bringing Undead, and he's going to start out with 2 units of Wraiths, one with the Caterpillar potion.
Mm-hmm.
He loves his 2 units of zombie, or 2 legions of zombies, one with the Crystal Pendant, and one with the Giant Rats and the Brew of Sharpness.
Ew, giant rats.
The Zombie Trolls, a horde of those with the Chant of Hate. Unit of Rights with the as a horde with the Brew of Haste. Revenant King on a Undead Worm in the Ensorcelled Armor with wings.
Seriously? Where do you guys come up with this?
Necromancer with Bane Chant, and one with Heal, both with Surge 8, and Morgath the Faceless with the Kitchen Sink.
More gash.
Whatever. There's no S in there.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Calling me gash. So what do you think,
Who's
Jeff?
going to win, Jeff?
Jeff
Daniels.
Daniels.
Yeah, we got Speed. Oh, man, that's a tough one. I've seen Jody play this Undead list. It's no slouch. And Morgath is pretty interesting. I think, but you know what? He's a hot member, so I'm going to go with Jen. I think her speed, I've played her before. She's definitely a competent player. I'm going for you, Jen.
I'll go next. You know, I agree. Jody's list is pretty disgusting, but she's fast enough to where she should be able to stay away from most of it. And some of Jody's stuff is really slow. Like, if she never wants those zombies to do anything, she can stay away from them the entire game. I mean, pretty reliably, and try and pick some stuff off. If he gets a little too aggressive with Morgath, you know, she could throw all of the breath attacks on it and hope to try and get a few wounds off on him and get a lucky roll. But I think with the stuff that she has, she'll probably be able to pick up a couple of units and then stay away from Jody as much as possible with the other stuff. Not saying that's how she's going to play, but from what I'm seeing on the paper, I kind of lean towards Jen also. So I'd probably take like a 12 or 14 point win for her, because it's going to be really tough to get points out of Jody. His stuff does not die that easy. Jeff Swan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll go next. You know, my gut automatically says always go against Jody because he's just got such a terrible record at tournaments. But here's the reality of it. Jen's army is super fast, and that's what it has going for it. Well, when you take its capabilities to get in flanks and stuff like that away, because you're undead and you have surge, it changes the game completely. And Jody's got such massive speed bumps that even if she's double charging into a zombie legion, he doesn't care if he loses it. But it's a zombie legion. You're probably not going to get through it in one go, even if she double charges. So she gets herself into a
zombies. I wouldn't even.
Well, if he forces her to.
I mean,
if he
they're
forces
slow,
her to.
yeah. Okay, try.
I'm just saying you're not going to get around the undead, which is the biggest issue here. Is you're taking up so much real estate that you can't fly in and land places. You're not going to get around them because they're just going to pivot, turn, surge, and Jody's got like 16 surge or something like that in his
way
list.
More than that. He's got over 30 surge.
Okay, well, his old list only had like 16. So if he's got 30 now, I mean, there's just no way you're going to get out of something that Jody. Like, you're not going to pull a fast one on him. You know what I mean? It's going to be something that's...
I think you can pull a fast one on Jody.
I'm just saying, list on list.
Give him one beer, you can pull a fast one on him.
He's got Morgath on top of it, dude. So, like, it's gonna be a nut punch to face it, realistically.
But it has no shooting, so it's not a real Texas list.
Sure, it doesn't have any shooting, but it doesn't have to. That's the thing. I am gonna go. My gut says that Jen wins this because Jody. Anyway, but I'm gonna go with Jody, and he's gonna totally redeem himself. And I think he's going to take so much real estate up on this first scenario. He's going to pick up all the extra VP that are available to him too, because he might be able to snuff her out of getting those extra VPs. So I think Jody will come out on this one. I don't think it'd be big, 14 at the most. But I'm thinking more of like a 12 and then VPs on top for Jody.
I'll go. I think Jody is going to win just because of what he's told me about all of the crap his zombie legions do. And he's got the one zombie legion that's going to blow up, I think, right? Didn't he have that item on there? Or did he not put it on there? Yeah. So Jen's awesome, by the way. Jen's coming in from San Francisco with her husband Q, and they're flying in or not San Francisco, LA. Sorry.
Try it again.
Orange County.
Picking them up Thursday, so it's going to be great. I'm happy they're coming, and I really love Jen, but I think Jody's going to get this one just because of how hard his army's going to be to break. She's got a lot of fast stuff, but I don't think she's got enough punch to deal with all that undead.
Yeah.
All right, Rick, you get to be the tiebreaker.
Well, I think it's going to be very close, and I think what's going to happen is there's not going to be a lot of points that they're going to get off of each other. I think it's going to end up coming down to the fact that you got the 3 Phoenixes, you got lots of healing going on Jen's side, and then you got the big giant units that you're not going to be able to get through very easily. It's going to come down to probably silly things like the terrain set up at the beginning of the game. And are they going to be able to box in those big legions with some impassable terrain or something like that in the middle of the table and kind of mess up the deployment? Things like that is probably what it's going to come down to. I'm going to go with Jen, but again, it's going to be a close one, 11 or 12 point win.
That's something to mention here. So something that's not a lot of times at the major GTs, we are doing a variation on player-placed terrain. So you are going to be competing against each other in every phase of the game.
Cool.
With that on top of it, it's notable. Make sure you're deploying that terrain in an expedient fashion because you're still going to have to get it done in a certain time allotment, people. So.
Right, and it's pretty straightforward how we're going to do it. I'll go ahead and describe it real quickly so people understand. But so you're going to have between 5 or 7 pieces of terrain on the table, and there will be little circular stickers on the table, and you will take turns placing one of those on top of one of those stickers. So player-placed terrain, you're not going to be able to shove it all to the sides of the table and have this big killing zone in the middle.
Awesome.
So it's going to be very strategic. You're going to have to keep it a certain distance away from any objective tokens or away from other pieces of terrain. So that terrain phase of the game is going to be important here.
Yeah.
I really like that, Rick. I've never seen anybody do that sticker thing, and that is awesome. Because usually the issue with you have the player-placed terrain is people are just like, oh, I'm just going to place this over here to the side so it's not going to affect me during the game, regardless of whether I get that side or the other side.
Or they dump it in the middle, or they give themselves all the hills. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, that is so aggravating sometimes. I think that's a really, really, really great idea.
And as a TO, we're not having to come along, multiple times in the tournament.
Reset it, yeah.
Yeah.
Solid.
That was actually Jeff's idea. I'll give him credit.
Solid. I really dig it.
All right. Moving on to table 3. What do we got?
Table 3, we have Jonathan Wengler against Royce Franzoni. And I've got Jonathan's list here. He's playing Salamanders. And some people, I have never played against Salamanders, so here's what he's got. He's got a horde of Salamander Primes. These are your Saurus Warrior equivalents. They have the Dwarven Ale. He's got 2 regiments of Ancients. So these would be the Temple Guard, one with the Brew of Strength, the other with the Brew of Courage. He's got 2 troops of Gakota Hunters with blowpipes. So these are the skink type of guys.
Mm-hmm.
2 regiments of the Kaizenor Lancers, so these are your Cold One Riders. One has the Caterpillar Potion, the other has the Helm of Confidence. He has an Ankylodon battle platform. It's basically one of the monster things with blowpipes, Crush 4, Iron Resolve, Vicious on the ranged attacks. He has a Clan Lord on a Raptor mount, so Cav-mounted hero. He's got a Herald on Kaizenor Raptor, so that's basically your BSB equivalent, and he's got a Mage Priest on a Raptor mount. He has the Bane Chant and the Inspiring Talisman, and he also has a Gakota Skylord with the Blade of the Beast Slayer.
Nice. That is a super. I really like that Skylord with the Beast Slayer. I really like that setup. Really solid. All right. Well, let's see what he's playing against. Royce is bringing some gobos, and by some I mean a
All of them.
massive amount of gobos. All right. So we start out with a Legion of Rabble, because you don't leave home without a Legion of Rabble. 25, 27, 30 attacks. Why would you? Anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4 hordes of spitters. Bowman, if you don't know. There, and then he's got a regiment of the Maw Beast packs at 95 points. Crush 1, Height 1, Nimble, Vicious, Yellow Belly, yada yada. He's only got 1 trombone. Congrats, man. Way to play clean. Dig it. Oh, never mind. 1, 2, 3, 4 rock throwers. Forgot. so then 4 rock throwers. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wizards, all just with what they come with, which is Lightning Bolt 3. And he's got Magua and JoJo's the special character. And then he's got Magwan's Maw Beasts, basically, so they get the little upgrade where they've got the Vicious on top of it. He's got 2 Goblin Mincers. Those are pretty great roadblocks there. Big shield in the front and TC3. Their big problem is they're only speed 5. And a giant. Yeah, he doesn't have a single magic item. Not one.
How much inspiring did he have?
Well, he's got none on the Wiz, and he's got it on just Magua. Yeah, that could be a problem.
Wow. That could.
I'm thinking he's just going for bodies. He doesn't care about the inspiring. If he loses them, he loses them. He's just going for maximum drops and body count. Yeah. Honestly, I like the list is good. I'd probably drop a Wiz personally, and or something else on top of it. At least a Wiz and put in a BSB with the Lightning Bolt item. It's not that much of a point sync difference. You could find the points in this list easily. I don't know. I think that Salamanders do a really good job versus high point, high efficiency units, and not so much against wound buckets galore. He's gonna have a hard time with this list. Just the body drop and the nerve amount is going to be really difficult because he has lots of elite fighters, but they don't have a lot of attacks in them for the Salamander guys. So, I think that Rock Lobbers probably take out the most important things that are going to be his biggest threats by turn 2. With all that shooting, it's going to happen. The trombone will wipe up the rest of what matters, and then he'll just sit there until the time is right and come on in with it. I think if I'm playing a list, I'd probably take this Goblin list over the Lizards personally. It won't be big, but probably a 14 in my opinion. I just think that he's going to pick up the units that are worth the points early and then not worry too much about the rest of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, immediately it stands out that he's going to be outnumbered. He's probably going to be giving up flanks. Man, they're still pretty tough, though. Those Salamanders are kind of hard to wound if you don't have a whole lot of crushing and stuff. If he can get that flyer character back there and go and disrupt some of those war machines, that may help the rest of his army out in getting across. It's going to be a tight game, though. It'll definitely be. I mean, I think the only thing that Jonathan has going for him is he plays Steve, and I think Steve's been kind of toying around with goblins a little bit. So hopefully Jonathan's gotten some practice games in. If that's the case, I kind of want to lean towards Jonathan, but man, it just so many goblins.
Steve just plays so much differently. That's my worry. You know what I mean?
It's true, but just so much stuff on the board. It's target saturation. Like you almost don't know where to begin. So I'm going to kind of lean towards the goblins on this one too. The problem with goblins and that many drops is you're giving up points, so you're not going to get huge wins unless
Right.
your opponent just gives you a couple of misplays. So from knowing that Jonathan plays Steve and gets his arm broken occasionally, I know he's not going to give up a huge win. So probably
Literally.
give Royce like a 12 or 13-point win over the Salamanders. Sean, what are your thoughts?
I'm going with Royce on this because of the Goblins. Like Jeff said, the Salamanders, they're real elite troops that don't pack enough attacks, and Royce is a really, really good player. So I've never seen Jonathan play. I don't know him really well, so I'm going with just the guy I know. I'm going with Royce.
Cool. Jeff Daniels.
So I think this is a terrain game. This is who uses the terrain better. I'm looking at this. I know how I approach that goblin list with the Salamanders. I look at this and I really, really, really wish he had a second Clan Lord on a Raptor mount. Especially instead of that Herald or something else. Having the two individuals you could run out there to disrupt things and hold things up while you isolate and take apart those hordes, piece by piece or whatever you need to get to. I really think this is going to come down to terrain placement and who harnesses that the best. So I think, but at the end of the day, straight up, I've played Royce before. He's tough. I got to go with that Goblin list. It's an uphill battle.
So far, landslide Goblin. Rick, are you going to buck the trend, or what do you think?
Well, I agree with Jeff that it's going to come down to a terrain game. I mean, you've got those big, gigantic footprints from the Legion and all of those hordes. Your deployment and how that terrain fits in is going to really determine what you're going to be able to do with it. You got all the line of sight issue potentials with all of those shooting units because, his biggest hitters in the Goblin list are going to be those monsters and the giant. So he's got to somehow get all that stuff in the right position at the right time. It might be a challenge. I think Royce can do it. But, I don't know anything about Jonathan, how he plays. I have never seen the Salamanders in action at all myself, so it's kind of hard for me to judge what's going to go there. But, yeah, it's just the fact that you got a lot of goblins to get through. And he's got some heavy-hitting units on the Salamander side, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get enough combos in to take out some of those bigger units and monsters. So I'm probably going to go with Royce as well.
Sounds good. Landslide for Royce, it sounds like. All right, what do we got on table 4?
Table 4 is our second challenge match. This we have Robbie King against Todd Serpico.
Sean, what's Robbie bringing?
I got Robbie's list. It's so fluffy. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 troll hordes. 6 of them. Such a nice soft list he's got here. 2 war trombones, a couple big rock throwers, a couple flaggets mounted on flea bags, and then he's got 1 wizard with Bane Chant and the Inspiring Talisman, and then 2 giants. So that's Robbie.
Well, Robbie does not have a lot of drops, but his opponent, Todd, is playing Ratkin and has a fair number himself. He has a regiment of tunnel slaves, a horde of warriors, a horde of spear warriors. He has 2 hordes of shock troops. One of them has the sharpness. The other one has the caterpillar. He's got 2 regiments of Vermintide. He's got 3 weapon teams. All of them have the Storm of Lead upgrade, which gives them piercing 1. He has 2 death engines with vile sorcery. He's got 2 warlocks. One of them has the inspiring talisman, and then he has 2 BSBs. Those 2 BSBs, one of them is carrying the flying hammer because he had an extra 5 points. After going to Minnesota and sitting in the car with Todd for 36 combined hours talking about lists and stuff, and getting to see Todd actually, play this sort of list in action, because this is almost identical to what he took to Minnesota with us, except he had 200 extra points on that.
Right. Yeah.
Todd did extremely well with this list. Not that Robbie's list is going to be easy for him to roll over. It's really going to come down to Can Todd force a couple of early break checks, break like maybe one or two hordes earlier than maybe he should have, depending on how well he rolls? And then how does Robbie rebound from that? Robbie's got a fair amount of shooting himself. Todd can't really get to the back lines to get into that stuff yet. So it's going to be a front-on-front match, and then Todd controls most of the mid to short-range shooting. Robbie has most of the long-range shooting. So, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to really come down to how well Todd keeps his rallying in check, which he does a good job with that. And then how fast Robbie can get those trolls across the table and start beating the shit out of stuff. So, oh man, I'm gonna go with my balls on Uke partner here. I'm gonna give it to Todd.
Balls on Uke.
Give me Todd with a 14-point win and maybe 4 objective points. Yeah. Yep. Give me balls on Uke. Jeff, you want to go, or Sean, do you want to go?
I'll go ahead and go.
Okay.
Well, this is still fresh before I forget. Oh, there goes that. I forgot. No, I think Robbie's going to win it. Todd's a good player, and he's got a really solid list. Robbie's just a lucky bastard, and he knows how to play the game. So I'm gonna go with Robbie. And I've seen him play the trolls, and he does a really good job with it. So I mean, he might not get a big win, but I'm gonna go with Robbie on this one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jeff
So.
Jeff Daniels, go for it.
All right. So I've watched this game already. They played it
I was
over
gonna
at the
say.
house.
Oh, they've already played it?
They have played this game at the house. Todd may have changed his list up a little bit, but what I'm seeing here is pretty similar. So they've both got some experience there on both sides. I think it's really going to come down to whether or not those rock lobbers are able to take out those death engines early. Because if Robbie can dictate that Todd's coming to him, he's got a great shot at it. But Robbie plays this aggressive, and he's had a lot of experience with it. He's been playing it for the last, 4 months probably. The biggest thing Robbie doesn't have here is inspiring. He's only got one, and that's a problem.
No, he's 2 flagons. Right?
There's the flagons. Never
The
mind.
flagons inspire, and one of the wizards inspire. He's got 3 of them.
And he's got inspiring
He's good.
talisman.
Yeah.
He was playing this for a while with very little in it.
He learned his lesson quick, didn't he?
Learned his lesson. Uses those giants well. I think I got to go with my apprentice. I got to go with Robbie on this one.
Man, hearing that though, you kind of wonder if somebody's able to drop some terrain,
Yep.
mess up some line of sight, then all of a sudden the game kind of changes.
Well, Robbie plays against my herd all the time, and I train the crap out of the table, so he's used to dealing with that.
Everything's a forest.
Well, Robbie's also got to remember, guys. Robbie's going to deal with less of the terrain being an issue because he'll have indirect fire, whereas Todd will actually take penalties for terrain for shooting.
What's really going on here is us bald guys are sticking together.
If he can't see through the terrain, then he can't shoot through the terrain.
I understand that, but just
That's
saying.
what I'm saying.
Cover won't
Jeff,
be an issue.
your choice.
See, this is going to be probably the closest match for game 1. If I had to put my money on it, out of all the matchups, I think this is going to be the closest nail biter. Todd is coming off a really, really, really good job at Lady of the Lake. He learned a lot of stuff with dealing with different armies while he was there. Did pretty well. He's played Robbie before. He learned from his mistakes for playing Robbie. I think without that being an issue, I think Robbie rolls him up. But I don't think this is going to be big one way or the other. If I honestly had to choose, I'm going to go. I mean, if there's an 11-point victory, then I would give that to Robbie at the 11 points over Todd. Just because the stay power of that many trolls is just absolutely ridiculous. And once Robbie gets into them, it's going to be really difficult. You know, Todd's a standoffy army. He waits for you to get up close enough. He's going to shoot you down a bunch. If Robbie can survive that volley, that's going to matter right there and get into the lines afterwards, that's going to be it. If those rock lobbers and all those weapons teams are able to kill 2 to 3 units of trolls, we're talking we're talking. I don't know that Robbie can come back from that. That's pretty stellar rolling though for that many units. I'm gonna give it to Robbie, but I'm only gonna give it to him by like 11 points. So and
You're
it's
only
gonna be tight.
give him an inch, just the tip.
I'm gonna give him just the tip. Just the tip.
Just the veiny side.
It's gonna be a really tight game. So.
Rick, final thoughts? Your thoughts?
I'm not really sure who to go with here. I know that Robbie's army is going to probably look better.
That is true.
And I personally like the Ratkin, so I'm going to go with Robbie, and that's kind of my tiebreaker. I think it's also going to be pretty close. But Robbie plays it smart, and he gets some good regen rolls on his trolls there. I think he'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ratkins suck, Todd.
Yeah, Mark.
More busting are you. All right, table 5. What do we got?
All right. I will start with JP, Mr. Pan Man. He's
The
rocking.
Pan Man can.
This is another challenge.
No, it's not. This is not a challenge.
Oh, this
Not
is
a
not a
challenge.
challenge.
It
Every
is
other.
now. It's a challenge now. I said so.
It
Oh,
is.
Oh, shit.
you're going down, whoever Pan Man's playing.
So, Mr. Pan Man's playing the Varangar, and this will also be a very pretty army. I see he's throwing some pictures up on the internet. He's done some
That's
really
great.
good work.
Looks really nice.
So he's rocking 2 regiments of Sons of Corrigan, basically the Chaos Warriors with Headstrong and Fury on them. Great attacks, decent nerve to them. 2 troops of Reavers, Thunder's Charge 2, Vicious, junk load of attacks on those as well. 2 units of Fallen. God, those guys are so good. One with
Oh
the
my gosh.
one with the Chant of Hate and one with the Pipes of Terror. That Pathfinder on those just makes.
Yeah, they're insane.
2 Tundra Wolf troops, so he's got a little chaff going on, a little pseudo chaff. Now, the one that struck me that I liked the best out of this army was the Jabberwock. I'd never looked at that before until I got to thinking about it, and it's a unit finisher. And because one of its things, the Feeding Frenzy, when it goes, it's only gotten 4 attacks normally. When it goes into a unit with wounds, it gets a number of attacks equal to whatever number of wounds are on that unit, and it's coming in there with Crush 2 on it already.
Yeah.
So you get in there late game, and it's got movement 7, so it's fairly quick, and it'll drop a unit. He's got a mage with Bane Chant Inspiring, and Hajira the Fallen, which for those that don't know, her biggest special ability is that if a unit is routed that has her blessing, she can roll a dice, and on a 3 through 6, or is it a
What's
4
3
up?
up? I thought it was
Yeah.
4 up, but it might be a 3 up.
Judgment, here it is. On a 4 up, it's judged worthy, and instead of being routed, it's healed for 1d6 plus 3.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
She's redonk, dude. Redonk. It's like auto-include in half of those armies.
Might as well.
So what about his
All right.
opponent?
Well, JP is going up against Paul Wysocki, who's running ogres, and you'll see a theme to this list. He's got 2 hordes of warriors. He's got a horde of siegebreakers. He has 2 hordes of shooters, one with Blessing of the Gods and the other with the Brew of Keenness. He's got 2 hordes of boomers. He has an
Damn.
army standard with the Diadem of Dragonkind, and he has Grakagamuk. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Grakamak.
For those who don't know, he's got Brutal, Crush 3, he's nimble, he's very inspiring, and he has the Amputator, where every hit becomes D3.
Last
So-
D3 plus 1.
Yeah, it's
D3
D3
plus
plus
one?
1. Yeah, that's insane.
D3.
It's a blast. Basically, every
Right,
hit he
it's
does
a
does
blast.
a blast. worth
It's a
of damage.
blast with the D3, so it's not D3 plus 1, it's just
Oh,
D3.
okay.
So he's got a lot of hordes, and a fair amount of shooting too. That's fairly potent with breath attack 18 from each of the boomers and the army standard with his breath weapon as well. again, it might come down to how the terrain is in there, but yeah, the one thing is I just don't know how often Paul plays up on the north side. I know he's been traveling a lot recently, and he hasn't had a chance to play a whole lot recently. So I think I'm going to give this one to JP. It's going to be, I'm thinking about probably about 13 or 14 points.
Sean, go for it.
Yeah. So I got inside information on JP. Although he's been painting like a madman, he hasn't played since like February. Paul's gone to like a tournament once a month usually, or every other, and he's been playing with his buddy Joey. But Paul's biggest challenge he's had has been Varinger, and I know that just because when I was beating Paul, it was with Varinger, and it's a rough matchup for him. But he's got all the tools, and he's learned how to use them pretty much. So just because JP hasn't played for so long, and as much as I want to root for the Pan Man, I'm going to go with Paul on this. A pretty big win, probably.
Okay. Jeff Daniels, what are your thoughts?
I've also got some inside information on this. So I've been playing Paul for years. He got me into this stupid hobby. And I will say one very good thing about Paul. He has the worst luck of anybody I know.
That is true.
Paul does play a lot. He comes to all the Etten tournaments up there, or most of them, and he has been getting better, but he plays very aggressively, and he loses quickly. Many times
lose fast, right?
I will say that JP, I've played him. He plays Dustin a lot, so he's gotten his teeth kicked in on many occasions, especially against Abyssals with a lot of shooting at. So he knows how to play. These Varangar are super, super forgiving, especially with Hajira in there.
Yeah.
Pan Man's faster. He can deal with terrain much better than Paul can. I got to give it to the Pan Man. Paul, again, I love you, but your dice hate you, dude.
Jeff, thoughts?
You know, my initial thing is I do agree a lot with Jeff. The issue here is, like, I can't for the life of me understand why people take Siege Breakers and don't give them the Orcsbane Amulet. Like, it just becomes such a defensive unit that, like, you can sit there and take anything like mounted Sons of Korgan or anything like that and knock off TC. I like Paul's list. I think the issue is he's too heavily invested. He's too heavily invested into shooting, and once JP gets there, he's got those super fast units that he can just throw in the forest, and his shooting that matters is going to be hitting on 6s, 5s maybe. The breath weapons are going to have, or the breath weapon from the boomers is going to have minimal amount of effect on him because he's going to get one round and then he's going to be into him and just jacking him. You know,
Gonna be jacking him, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, jacking him.
I don't know. I don't know if I like Paul's list, but I like with Jeff saying that he's a super offensive player. I think that's the wrong way to play this list in this matchup, and you're not going to win if you're going offensive. You're going to have to sit back, hoard up, and then just have those Siege Breakers take those charges while your shooting knocks down the stuff that's going to hurt you the most with the Siege Breakers, and just have the Siege Breakers hold the line. So if he's not going to do all that kind of stuff, I got to say Pan Man's got a better army for combat. So I'll go with Pan Man by 12.
Gotcha. I mean, there is a shooting advantage that Paul has, but I think the overall feel of the list is he wants to, get across and batter his opponents, and that's exactly what Pan Man's army wants to do, and Pan Man does it a little bit better on paper. So just list on list because I haven't got to play either of these guys or see any of them in action recently. I'm gonna go with JP. Give me Varangar over the ogres on this one, and it has nothing to do with luck. Just total list on list paper. Knowing that Paul has bad luck helps make that decision a little easier. But so looks like we're moving on to table 6. What do we got?
So table 6 is a challenge, officially. We have Justin Ballsack against Q Bond.
That's right, and I got the ball sack. Ballsack is going back to time and going back with the Brotherhood action like he does. He's bringing straight up, no nonsense, no allies of any sort, not even very many magic items. So he's got some Villian Bowmen, which I don't know. I have mixed feelings on him. He's got a horde of them. I don't think they're really that worth it. He's got a troop of Swain's Rangers. I think the difference on them is they get stealthy, if I'm correct. He's got the Order of Redemption, so that is a regiment of 10. And he's got that twice. One of them has Caterpillar, and one of them has the Brew of Strength. These guys will have the Regen and Thunderous Charge and Inspiring. So they're your really elite knight units he doesn't have to have a character near him. They're gonna give Inspiring to all the units that are around him. So that's what he's gonna form up around. He's got a unit of Fast Cav, just a troop. He's gonna use them for a speed bump. He's got Order of Forsaken. He's got a regiment twice. Those are your Pegasus Knight style guys. I like the regiments hands down way better than the hordes. I think that's the way to run them. You can be a lot more tactical with them. It requires you to be a better player, but I think that's the way to go. He's got 2 Exemplar Redeemers. These are your regen heroes, so the elite knight guys, but as a hero on a mount. One of them has fire oil, the other one has nothing, and he's got an Exemplar Forsaker with the encircled armor, so that is your Pegasus Lord style guy, and he's gonna have defense 5. Typically like to see that encircled armor on one of these Exemplar Redeemers instead, so they've got defense 6 and regen, and they can just throw them out there and be a tank and hold stuff up, be a really hard speed bump for people to get into. And I like the Exemplar Forsaker to have like a Beast Slayer sword or something like that, but that's just me being picky, but I think it's a really good list.
Alright, I got Q's list here, aka the fat bastard. He's taking Forces of Nature, which is ballsy in itself. That's pretty cool. He's got Hunters of the Wild. He's got 1 troop, 1 regiment with Fire Oil, 1 regiment with Brew of Strength. He's got 2 hordes of Forest Shamblers. He's got a Centaur Chief, or 2 Centaur Chiefs, both with bow gaining. Okay. Sherliot. I don't know what the hell bow gaining is.
He adds a bow.
I don't play Forces of Nature.
Add bow.
I couldn't possibly guess what that.
What does that even mean? He's got something that's called a Charliot. That's got to be a character.
Yeah, Charlotte.
Tree herder.
It's a mix between an onion and a piece of garlic.
A shallot.
If he modeled that way, I'll give him this point. Tree herder, beast of nature, lightning bolt. I guess he's got 2 beasts of nature with lightning bolt, and one of them's got fly.
They have vicious on those ones too.
Vicious,
nice.
and increased attacks to 7. Yeah. So that's his list, and I'm gonna go with Q because Justin sucks at this game. He's not as good as he was in Warhammer, and Q just beats him all the time, even when he was playing a game he was good at. So I'm going for Q.
I guess I'll go. You noticed how I got up and left during Justin's list reading. Justin has never beaten Q in like a GT matchup. Apparently, this is his 4th or 5th try. So, real easy for me. I didn't need to hear Justin's list. Give me Q. Justin will find a way to fuck this up or slow play himself out of a win.
Yeah. I'm also gonna go with Q. The other part that people don't know, or if you haven't seen it, is that all those tree shamblers he has, those are all Vanguard. So he's going to get this 12-inch burst move, and he's going to play the game in the forest, especially with, Bayou going to be deploying your own terrain. Q's going to fight real hard to have some terrain that he can hide in on turn 1, so if Justin wants to charge him, he's like, come get it, bro. Like, hinder charge, lose your thunderous charge, 0 Fs given. So I think Q's list has everything it needs, man. If Justin had that sort of the beast layer, like I was saying, this might be a little bit different if he was playing a little tactical on the flanks and stuff and doubling, tripling his attacks with that peg hero. It could be a different game, but I don't know, man. I think Q's gonna roll him up. I think he's gonna roll him up something hard. I think those bowmen are a complete waste of points in that army.
If only everybody listened to Jeff, they would all win.
I mean, he just knows everything, right?
I mean, they could come in 5th or 7th like Mark, but I mean,
You want to go, Rick?
Yeah, I'll just kind of echo what other people are saying here. I played against Justin several times against his old Bretonnian army. I know his mentality, and I don't know if the Brotherhood plays the way the old list did and how he used to run it there. And yeah, I think especially with the he's got Q has 2 surge spells in that list.
Yeah, from the herders.
Yeah.
Just one.
Oh,
Just one. Did he give
Charlotte
it to
has it too.
one of the
I think
druids?
Charlotte has it too, I think.
No, Charlotte's got Wind Blast, which I like.
Okay.
Okay, so he's only got the 1 surge attempt. If he had a second one, I think that would definitely give him an additional tactical advantage. But still, even with that 1, if he uses it effectively, he can get around. And with the terrain as well, he drops trees and stuff in the middle of the board. Then Justin's kind of SOL. So I'm going to go with Q on this one.
Yeah, this is basically. I mean, Justin's list is almost a mirror of another list we'll talk about later on in here. I honestly don't hate the Rangers. The problem Justin's going to run into is he doesn't have enough knights on the table, and Q's got a lot of punch throughout this list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sneaky
A lot of
fellas.
defense too.
A lot of defense and 7 things that can really punch him in the face and get through his armor. Those Centaur Chiefs are fantastic chaff. I love them. I use them in the herd. I got to go with Q. I don't see it in Justin's list here.
Wow, that was another landslide. Suck it up,
Sweet.
Justin.
Sorry, Justin.
I'm not. You suck.
All right, table 7. What do we got, Rick?
Table 7, we have Tim Gleese against Chuck Williams.
Alrighty,
Chuck Williams.
I've got Tim's list. Tim is bringing goblins. He has a rabble horde. He has 2 of them. He has a regiment of spitters. Rabble. He's got 2 hordes of trolls. Brew of Courage on one of them, Caterpillar on the other. He's got a Mobbies Pack troop, 2 of those. He's got 2 war trombones. He's got 3 big rock throwers. He has 1, 2 flaggots. One of them is mounted. Actually, they're both mounted. One of them has the diadem. The other one has the hand grenades. And then he's got a troll bruiser with the ensorcelled armor. Nice, I like that. And then he has some orc allies, 2 regiments of the Gore Riders, and 1 flagger. And that is Tim's list.
I've got Chuck Williams over here. He's playing dwarves. He's rocking a horde of the Bulwarkers, which come with Headstrong and Phalanx and 30 attacks with the Brew of Sharpness. 3 regiments of Iron Guard, which 2 of which are defense 6 with Headstrong, 1 of which has the 2-handed weapon, so it's defense 5 with Crush 1. 2 hordes of the Earth Elementals, 3 organ guns, an army standard bearer with the War of Kaba, or Warbow of Kaba, 2 stone priests with Surge 8 and Bane Chant 2, and a warsmith with the Boomstick, I like it, and a Greater Earth Elemental. Boatload of defense 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Daniels.
All right. I've played Tim's goblins a lot. He plays them really well. He's just gotten better with them. That said, I have not played this latest iteration with the addition of the orcs. But knowing how he plays and what he's doing with them, I think it's solid. That said, if his shooting goes off, because he outshoots the organ guns by a fair distance, if his shooting goes off pretty consistently, he could. Oh man, this is going to be a small points victory, one way or the other. But I think the two surges that Chuck's coming with, plus all of the defense 6 and 5 here, is going to be a bit too much for Tim to get through. He just doesn't. Man, this is a tough one. I think it's going to be a small victory to Chuck.
See, I was kind of looking at this, and I was thinking the other way. I think Tim probably gets a victory. I don't know that it's going to be large because, again, goblins like to give up points. You know, this is a peace trade game anyway, so you have to give up points at some point. But I think Tim can wall off enough to keep Chuck from doing anything crazy, and then. Dude, I see those Gore Riders with their inspiring dude running right behind them, and I just see he's just going to try and sweep one of the flanks with them. And so Chuck's going to have to watch out for that too. Defense 5, that's great, but he's coming in with Crush 1, Thunderous 1. Lots of attacks, you're going to have to watch out for that. And he's got a pretty good... Yeah, man, I got to go with Tim on this one. I'll do like 11, 12-point win for Tim. You know, I could see it being bigger, but... That's only if he gets super lucky and those rock throwers just totally obliterate the organ guns on like turn 1, 2, 3.
I will say Chuck's army definitely deals with terrain a little easier with those pathfinding elements.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the elementals are a good little bonus, but you know they have to get out and you have to start surging them so they start getting away from your lines, and then you kind of open up gaps, and I think Tim could exploit that too. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Jeff Swan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tim on this one, too. I'm going to say 13, 14-point win for Tim. Thing with Dwarfs is that that Bulwarker line, that's a really expensive unit that he has there, and Tim can just never engage it. The issue is the Bulwarkers are so slow, and like it's such a big footprint for him to try and get his range in for the charge. I don't know that he's going to be able to use it effectively versus anything on Tim. And Tim can sit back and use the rock lobbers and stuff like that to pick off what he wants and just never engage until he really has to, or if at all. I think Tim's a strategic enough player to know what he has to do. So I don't think you're going to catch Tim on anything on this one. I think he's going to play his game, and I think Tim will pull this one out.
Good call. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty much what everybody else has said. I think Tim's going to be able to handle this fairly well. He's gotten practice. He has some versions of dwarves. He knows how to handle the shooting. He can stay back if he wants to, but he'll be able to outmaneuver him and take him out. So I'm going with Tim, and I'm betting it's going to be a big win.
All right, Rick, you get the final word. What do you think on this one?
You know, in my experience, those rock lobbers aren't as useful as everyone thinks. I mean, you're going to hit once a turn on average with those.
Yep.
So you got to get pretty lucky to take out some units, you know, one a turn kind of thing. That said, though, Chuck has a very defensive list. He's going to try to sit back and try to set things up and try to get him to come across the table at him. I don't know if Tim's necessarily going to take the bait, and he's got a little bit more speed, a lot more speed than what Chuck has.
Yep.
And unfortunately, you know, Chuck's been coming from Beaumont for the last, you know, at least 8 years to Bayou, and he has played in the Snotling hard luck game probably 5 out of those 8 years. He's got some pretty bad luck when it comes to the games. Hopefully he does better in Kings of War than he does in Warhammer, but I'm probably going to go with Tim on this one.
I will say this: Chuck sculpted 3 of his units, so he's got karma on his side there.
That's right. Made
You
him
know,
literally by hand.
I don't know if you guys did this matchup on purpose, but goblins and orcs versus dwarves is perfect. Just classic matchup.
There've been a lot of nice lucky matchups.
Yeah.
It just kind of worked out that way, so I'm happy the way it turned
There's
out.
a couple of unfriendly matchups, but oh well.
You're
All
gonna
right,
get those. It's gonna happen.
Rick, what do we got for table 8?
Table 8 is yet another challenge match. We have Jason Johnson coming in from Arkansas against some dude named Jeff Swan.
Boo.
All right, I've got Jason's list here. He's running Varangur. He starts off with a Horde of the Bloodsworn. He's got 2 troops of Sons of Korgan, both with the Headstrong and Fury. He has a Horde of Fallen, a troop of the Tundra Wolves, a regiment of the Mounted Sons with the Caterpillar Potion, 2 Magus Conclaves. He's got a Magus with the Inspiring Talisman, a Chieftain with the Wings of Honey Maze, and a King on a Chimera with the Blade of Slashing.
Alrighty, here's what that dickhole Jeff Swan is bringing.
Boo.
Thanks for putting this in the wrong format, you prick.
F off.
He has a regiment of succubi, a regiment of succubi, a regiment of tortured souls, 2 troops of hounds, only 1 Efreet. Wow, that's pretty soft, Jeff. Oh wait, I'm not done. He's got a fucking Well of Souls. He has an Archfiend of the Abyss, and just because he gave that guy the Medallion of Life because he wasn't good enough as he was by himself.
Oh no.
Then he's got allies because you need allies in this.
It's fun.
Don't you even say that word. Don't you say fluffy.
It's
I would kill you.
fun. No,
Yeah, fun for you.
I've never played with allies. It's gonna be fun.
He's got a Horde of Fiends. And then he's got, a Void Lurker, and he gave that guy the Onyx Ring. So, Jeff only has 1 Efreet, and he will tell you that this is a soft list because there's only 1 Efreet. But it's a pretty heinous list. God, poor Jason, man. Why would you challenge somebody with this?
I never got to play Jason, and him coming out again, I might be the last.
You just want to
time I
make
get
sure
see
that he
him.
never shows up ever again.
No,
Yeah.
I never got to play him,
Dick.
and he's a fun guy to play. So I wanted to get a chance to play him.
Although I did
And-
like
to
in
play
your
when you're
challenge.
not being a dick.
Wait, and to be
Jeff.
fair, in the challenge that I wrote to Jason, I told him he could choose to play my list, or he can play his. I gave him the option, so if he wants to play his.
So that being on the
play
table,
his?
I'm going to pick whatever player picks the Abyssal list. That's my pick. Rick, what are your thoughts?
Well, this is interesting. Jason won Bayou last year. Granted, that was with the old system, so we got multiple GT winners going at each other here. So I think from a tactical standpoint, it'll be a good game.
Oh yeah,
Whoever's going at it. The only thing is, I know that Kings of War isn't very big over in Arkansas right now. I don't know how many people are playing over there, but Jason's the only one making the long drive by himself from Little Rock. So I don't know how much practice he has with the game. So when you combine that with the heinous list, I'm saying if Jeff plays his list, then I think he's going to pull it off.
Jeff Daniels, your thoughts?
Jason, take the Abyssals and take the win. Because this Varangur list is just not. It doesn't have near enough to keep up with everything that's going to be flying around that table.
Agree.
Either that or Jason just come really pissed off. Make it so you want to play that game. That's what I want to hear coming off that table.
Turn 1. Oh, so we're playing it that way, huh?
No, it's gonna. The problem is, even with the Abyssal list, Jeff has so many games under his belt now and basically knows the movement intricacies of this game, and everything is about the movement phase. That Jason, take the Abyssals. If he does, it's probably still not going to be a landslide by any stretch of the imagination. I would give it a 12-point win to Jason. If Jason plays as Varangur, I think I'm buying Jason beers consolation beers afterwards.
Well, I'm buying Jason.
Hey,
beers
he gets to
regardless.
play Chuck Williams next round if he picks the Varangur.
That's true. No, Chuck's gonna pull it out for me.
You don't know. Jason's whole plan is to submarine the crap out of this. That's where he thrives, man.
Sean Bright, your thoughts?
Jeff's a dick. That's about it. No, yeah, it's a really nasty list for someone who's playing a fairly soft Varangur list for what would be assumed the first time. But Jason's a solid player. It won't be a big loss if he sticks with the Varangur.
Cool. Jeff Swan, you get the last word on your matchup.
Well, let's see here. I don't know that you're giving Jason enough credit, to be honest. I saw him play at Shiloh, and he played really, really well for having only a couple of games underneath his belt. This guy did amazing in fantasy, and it's not that much different. And he's been playing back from when 6th edition was around, so this isn't anything that new to him. I think his list is actually pretty decent. I wouldn't mind playing it if he ends up giving it to me. That'd be awesome. I think that he could have taken a stronger list, but I think he's just taken models that he probably already has up and ready to rock. So that's pretty obvious. But my list doesn't have a lot of drops, but it does have a lot of punch. So it's like Jeff said, it's all in the movement, and yeah, regardless, we're gonna have a fun game. But I think if I play the Abyssals, I probably get a 14-point win. If I played
16.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, Jason's got in the Varangur list. He's got drops over me, and he's also gonna.
Oh,
and
no.
This is a lot about. Okay, it doesn't matter.
It's all movement, man.
Well, he.
5 flyers in there.
My point is he has chaff. I am bringing the actual chaff.
Don't you just fly over, Chaff?
Yeah, you'd think, right?
Not if you don't give it. Not if you don't give it.
Oh, you got me walled off with Jeff. Oh, shit,
Actually,
I've got wings. Okay.
I think, Rick, that we have one table that will be using Clash of Kings rules, and we'll go ahead and make that Jeff Swan's table.
I'm totally cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. I've got no problem playing with those rules. But yeah, it'll be a fun game regardless, either which way. And I know Jason's a good sport about everything. That's kind of why I wanted to play him. I didn't get a chance to play him the past couple of years, and I wanted a chance to play him. So
Hey, Jason's a great game. He's a good
thanks
guy.
for accepting the challenge, Jason. Regardless, I know.
Chuck Norris beard.
Yeah, you like that challenge, right?
Yeah, that was the best part.
Chuck Norris beard having motherfucker.
Jason Johnson.
Love you, Jason.
Alrighty. Table 9, what do we have?
Table 9, we have James Gush against the always powerful Ringer Army.
I've got the Gush. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Gush is bringing Ratkin again. He's got 1, 2, 3 regiments of tunnel slaves. So that's his chaff. He's got 1, 2, 3 hordes of shock troops.
Wow.
Best
Jesus.
unit in the damn
3 of
game.
'em.
No arguments
Any
whatsoever. No, they're naked. I think he's
Okay.
going for max body drops on this. He's got a horde of blight with potion of caterpillar on them. Really think you need that. But
Yeah, you do. You hide them in the force and they don't take hindered. They're awesome.
yeah, you want to receive the charge with them anyway.
You want to, but if you're stuck in a situation where you can't,
Sure.
pretty handy.
1, 2, 3 weapons teams. Anybody want to guess if he took piercing on him?
I'm gonna guess
Probably.
yes.
Yeah, he did. A mutant rat.
They come without piercing?
come
Is
with-
that possible?
That's a thing. Mutant rat fiend. He's got the enforcer. He screwed up and didn't give it the.
He didn't give it the
He
inspiring
didn't give it a
talisman?
talisman because it's
Man.
James. He's gonna do his crap where he's only got 1 inspiring again, isn't he? War chief on a flea bag again. He's got encircled armor. Who the hell takes a war chief? Oh, that's his inspiring, I'm guessing. Yep.
Yes.
And then he's got a warlock with Bane Chant 3 he gave him on top of his lightning bolt. He's got the Fireheart amulet, so at one point in the game he can throw 2 spells. and he's got another one with a Bane Chant 3 and
As everybody
Scarlet
jumps to go
Maul?
remember what that thing is.
Scarlet
No,
Maul's Fanuli. Oh, plus 2
that's
lightning
the plus
bolts.
2
Yeah,
lightning.
so 7 lightning bolts.
Yeah.
So he'll have 7, 8, 9, 10. I have it.
17
12
because he had the
lightning.
demon. 17.
12 light. No, he doesn't have the demon. He
I
has
thought
the
you said
mutant
he had
rat
the demon.
fiend.
Oh, the rat fiend. Okay. Gotcha.
No, he has enough lightning bolts, but he's got 3 weapons teams. So James's list is actually COK compliant as well. So cool.
Yeah. Cool.
So we got the ringer here. Which one of us is playing the ringer first?
I don't know.
1, 2, 3. Not it. Not it.
I'll play it first since it's my army. How about that?
Sweet. There we go. Rick bites the bullet and he gets to play the Dick James Gush with his Empire dice.
You're gonna need me to answer questions anyway, so.
So we got Skeleton Warriors, a horde of them. We got a Skeleton Spearman Regiment. We got a regiment of Revenants. We got 2 troops of Skeleton Archers. We got a horde of Scavengers with the Blade of Slashing. Skeleton Cavalry with a regiment. 2 troops of Skeleton Archer Cavalry. 2 regiments of Revenant Chariots. 2 Scorpion Husk. A Revenant Champion with a diadem of Dragonkind. Pharaoh on a royal chariot, and then we got a cursed high priest on a horse. And this is a pretty good ringer list. I think Rick will make James work for it quite a bit.
Well, it's a huge upgrade over the ringer list Rick gave us the first time.
Yeah.
Jeff made me do it.
Yeah. We saw it and we're like, maybe take a competitive something a little bit better, because the first one was just like, yeah, here's a win.
Maybe take the pillow off the bat. So, Rick, you're going to be playing this. What do you think?
It's been about a year since I've played the Dust Army. I've been playing elves and goblins. I haven't been playing the Dust. I love the Tomb King's army. I love the kind of feel of it, but I haven't quite worked out all the nuances of it yet. But the advantage I have is I know the scenario, so I'm going to say I'm going to give him a battle. He'll probably pull out a small one, but I'm really going to make him earn it.
That's what I like to hear.
All he's got is a small one.
Oh!
Jeff Daniels, your thoughts?
All right, Gush, murder him.
Okay, quick and concise. Sean Bright.
I already said
Down to me.
Rick, small loss.
Yeah, I don't know, man. With all those shots that he's got on those skeletal bowmen, he has enough to pick off the units that are outside the inspiring bubble early if he really wants to. If you pick him off, you get some points there. It's not a huge, massive loss, but I think that if Rick just sits back, honestly, and just plucks him to death and then just never engages him until he has to, I think this could be in Rick's favor, man. I think I just sit back and pop him, and then as soon as he gets close enough, charge
taste
in.
of his own medicine.
Charge it in, man. Yeah, why not?
We're hitting on fives.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Every shot hits on fives. We're not going to plunk him away too much.
And James is coming with 17 lightning
the right
bolts.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
15 or 12 lightning.
12.
those 12 lightning are better than that horde of bowmen.
That whole
2 hordes of
45
bowmen, plus
shots I'm going
horses.
to have.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd like to see what that Revenant King on the, or not King, the Pharaoh King on that chariot can do to this army, though. I think it's gonna just tear him up, dude. I think you could kill a whole unit just in one go.
I don't think he's the only one on a chariot in this tournament, though.
I know, it could be fun.
Nice. I'll do last thoughts. I gotta go with the rats, man. I don't
Of
see
course
how
you do.
James fucks
You
this up.
sneaky bastard.
Squeak, squeak, motherfucker. All right, table 11. What do we got?
We got the Houston Aussie.
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually
Last of
table
the
10.
challenges.
Oh, sorry, table 10. Table 10. I jumped ahead. My bad.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we got the Aussie Craig out of Houston. It's a challenge with playing Mr. Troller, Mr. Tim Roller. Tim's new. He's a washing machine washout, and he's come over to Kings of Warside. And anyway, so Craig's, neither of them have played a whole lot, but Craig's rocking the Abyssals.
This will be Craig's first game.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Maybe he should not have skipped Lone Wolf then.
Right.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So Craig took a regiment of flame bearers with the Jar of Wind, so 24-inch, no, more than that, 30-something inch.
Plus 12-inch to your shooting.
18, yeah. Firebolts, troop of gargoyles, horde of lower abyssals, which is drop to defense 3 and crush 1. The Abyssal Guard, regiment of those, also dropped in defense for crushing strength 1 and includes the Brew of Strength. A regiment of the Abyssal Horsemen with the Caterpillar, as Cav are like to do. The Lord of Lies. Haynes in this list.
Right.
Yeah.
Hayne Bailey.
Comes with 7 Lightning Bolt, but he comes with Ensnare and Thunderous Charge 2 and Stealthy. So, but he's a point sink, 300 points. He's also got a Well of Souls, another flyer, an Abyssal Fiend, Archfiend of the Abyss with flying.
Oh my god, dude, you thought my list was bad? Holy crap!
And Ensorcelled Armor.
Is bad, Jeff.
And the cherry on the top is that beautiful little Coronis.
Oh my god, he's got all of them?
Holy
Yes.
jeez. Hey,
Oh,
no, to be fair, you left Basusu out. Fair enough.
He probably couldn't fit him.
Every other rare. Holy crap.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Well, I have Tim's list, and I think, once you hear this list, you might not be wowing so much, or you might be wowing in the other direction. His list starts off with 4 hordes of Berserker Braves, 30 attacks.
Yeah.
He's got 2 hordes of the Boomers. He's got 2 troops of the Red Goblin, 2 regiments of the Red Goblins, so they got the bows. He's got 2 Red Goblin Bigots mounted. And he's got 2 warlocks. One has the scrying gem, and the other has the fire amulet. And he gave both of the warlocks fireball in addition to lightning bolt.
Like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them had the healing talisman, huh?
No.
Missed that trick.
Missed that trick, huh?
Yes. But, so yeah, he's got 4 blender units on this side of the table. He doesn't have a lot of chaff, but he has a couple of weaker point units. Yeah, it's basically, the blenders against the monster mash. So, considering that neither of these guys have really played very much, I know Tim has basically said he's going to be playing his first game with this list Friday night. So I think it's just going to be coming down to who has the better luck with the dice, probably.
Nope.
It's that Abyssal. The Abyssal's playing straight up.
Gotta go with what the Abyssal is.
Nah, this game is all about karma. Tim decided not to go herd, disappointing me. It is going to be completely Craig's game, and he's going to just wipe the table with him.
With a smile on his face.
Should have gone herd, brother.
Yeah, I'm going with Craig too. I liked Tim. I'm sorry, Tim, but Craig's bringing. He might not have played a game yet, but he's bringing a pretty nasty list.
Came out of
You
Washington.
don't have to play
Hey,
a
here
game.
you go.
The models will
Here's
play
Phil.
themselves on that one. Whew. That's
Well,
nasty, man.
Tim was the one who issued the challenge. I don't know who set him up for that.
I don't know. I don't know who that was.
That's
All
gonna be
right,
rough, man. Yeah. Craig.
Everybody said their piece?
Yeah, Craig.
Okay. Sorry, Tim. It's going to be bad. Let's move to table 11, like I tried to do earlier.
All right, table 11, we have Sean Malloy against Richard Vogt.
That's right. We got my boy Sean Malloy. He's been coming out and playing at the game nights with me and Mark a lot lately, and he's really cleaned up his gameplay a lot. He is coming off a pretty decent showing for Oklahoma's slobber knocker, and he's full of confidence. So he's going to go ahead and take the same list.
He's full of something.
He's full of something. He's going to go ahead and take the same list. He's got a troop of berserkers. They're completely, or it's dwarves, sorry. Troop of berserkers. They're completely naked, like berserkers should be. Iron Guard. He's got a regiment of 20 of those guys. He's dropping the shields on them, so they'll go down to defense 5, gaining crushing 1. He's got another unit of them, also dropping the shields for +1 more crushing. He's got a regiment Iron Watch rifles, so he can put a little bit of long-range hurt on stuff that needs to get killed early, chaff and such. 2 units of rangers. One of them's got fire oil, so he'll be able to hurt those regen units he wants to reach out and touch, and a piercing arrow, so you can reroll a failed wound. On the other one, he's got a troop of 10 shield breakers, which are really good chaff for 90 points. They can actually slap you back if you bounce off them. He's got a horde of earth elementals with the diadem of dragonkind. Really nice little combo there, as you'll see later. He's got a berserker Brock Rider regiment, because you don't leave home without at least one. Blessing of the Gods, so he'll be having elite and vicious, so reroll 1s on both occasions, and they'll have Thunder's Charge 1 inherently. He's got 2 of the Flame Belchers, so those will have a Breath Weapon 18. He's got a Army Standard Bearer with the Healing Charm, which he'll just try and keep a couple things up with as needed. And a Berserker Lord on the Brock mount, obviously like you do with the Blade of Beastslayer, gonna go do work on people. Put in work. He's got a Stone Priest with Bane Chant 2 and the Inspiring Talisman, just to make sure he can inspire everything around him. He's got a lot of games in with this list too. So.
Yes, it does. All right, Sean, who's he going up against?
He's going against Richard Vaught Hambone. Let's see. He's got Empire of Dust. He's got a regiment of skeleton warriors. He's got a horde of revenants, which he exchanged shields for 2-handed weapons. So he's got defense 4, and he's getting crush 1. He's got Casket of the Damned on him and Brew of Strength. Anybody? What's Casket of the Damned do? Anybody?
Extra Surge.
Extra Surge, one-time use.
Nice. Okay, so he's got Crushing 2 on that unit. That's pretty solid. Skeleton Archer Cavalry Regiment, Brew of Keen Inus. Revenant Chariots, 1 regiment of 3. Horde of Revenant Worm Riders. Wow. Let's see. 2 Balefire Catapults, 1 Bone Giant, 1 Reanimated Behemoth equipped. He's got the Light Balefire Catapult on it. 1 Pharaoh with Wings of the Honey Maze. Cursed High Priest with Reb's Grimoire of Unspeakable Darkness. Cursed High Priest on horse with the 12 Breath Attack and Visions and the Amulet of the Fireheart. Malloy has been getting a lot of practice, and he has been improved his game from everything I've heard. But Richard's awesome, so I'm gonna go with Richard because the Ham's gonna win.
Well, I'll be quick. I'm gonna go with Sean on this one. I think Sean has everything he needs to deal with whatever he wants to pick off of Richards. He's not gonna completely massacre him because you're gonna get those key clutch surges that can happen in a game, and things will get shook up a little bit. But I think Sean has enough to deal with him even once he gets to the line to turn around and blow holes and stuff with all those breath weapons. So I'm gonna give this one to Sean Malloy, and I'm gonna go with a 14 for Sean.
Jeff Daniels, your thoughts?
This is a tough one. I like both dudes. I think it should be a beer hammer game, and decided that way. if it is. I firmly put it in Sean's hands at that point, having beer hammered poor Richard before and put him out of the game.
Fireball hammer.
Put his ass in commission.
Man, I love that he came the way I like Dust with 28 Surge on this table, plus the bonus in that Revenant Horde. He's going to be hit. He's going to be able to get wherever he wants to get. But I think I got to go with Sean on this one. There's just too much. You know, if I'm Richard, I play the draw. I play back. He's got a little bit longer range on the shooting, I think. Yeah, he's got 3 catapults, 36-inch range. Force Sean to come to him, and if not, take the draw. So I'm going to look a low points game. Richard's going to play it smart.
Gotcha. You know, I know Sean is going to have problems getting across the board if Richard does sit back, but I've played against Sean's list. It's surprisingly tough, tougher than it looks on paper, especially the way he plays it. So, you know, if the best case scenario is they get a draw, that could happen. When I look at all the other matchups, I think this is probably the funnest table in the room between everything that's happening and how crazy these two guys are. So I just hope that I'm in a position to watch how their game unfolds from where I'm at on one of the other tables. But I'm going to give the win to Sean Malloy. Rick, final thoughts?
Yeah, I've never played against either of these guys, but I've watched Richard play a few times, and he is a fun player, and he knows that Dust list very well. I watched him play a couple of games at Lone Wolf because he was right on tables right next to me. I think he will play smart, and knowing the scenario, knowing both of the lists, and if he places the terrain correctly, he can make it close, and I think he'll probably try to do that. I think Sean's list might just be a little bit too much for him, so I'm thinking unless Richard gets some lucky dice, Sean might pull it out, but I think it's going to be a close game.
I will say this as an ending thought: the only games that I know of that Richard's played has been the Hot Tournament, and you can't really call those games.
Well, he was at Lone Wolf too.
Was he?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he came to Lone Wolf.
So you can call those games.
Not really.
Maybe.
Yeah. Alrighty, we are going on to table 12. Who do we have?
Table 12, we have Tyler Coughlin against a young and GT rookie, Eric Schnell.
Alrighty. I have got Tyler's list. He is bringing Night Stalkers. He's the guy that Jeff so graciously gave 5 snake eyes to in their game at Lone Wolf.
Yep.
He
Has
has
it
got...
gotten up to 6 yet?
No. I almost broke that record the other day.
Let me guess. He's got 5 units of fiends.
No. So tell me if this sounds familiar, because if it does, great. If it doesn't, then he's changed his list a little bit.
Sure.
He's got 2 regiments of Shadowhounds. He's got 3 hordes of fiends. One of them has Caterpillar. He has a Mind Screech. He has 2 planar apparitions. He's got a Void Lurker with encircled armor instead of the Medallion of Life, like some dicks run.
Why would
And
you
then
give him a Medallion of Life? He already has regen.
Okay, the bonus. Shut up. Stop talking. And then he's got a Dread Fiend with the Blade of Slashing. So that is his list. Was that what he was running last time, or did he swap it up a little bit?
No, he swapped it up a little bit. This one's got a little bit more reach. I think he didn't like those piercing bolt guys as much as he brought last time.
Yeah, they look good on paper. They just don't really function. Jeff Daniels, what's Eric bringing to the table?
So Eric Schnell is bringing the Dust, and he's rocking a Skeletal Warrior Regiment, nothing on it. Archer Regiment, nothing on it. Horde of Scavengers with the Blessing of the Gods. I'm not crazy about that size of a unit with that amount of points in it, but it could be useful.
Yeah.
Regiment of Skeleton Cav, 2 hordes of the Chariots, and a Monolith, and then 4, count them, 4 reanimated Behemoths, 2 of which coming with the boom, with the catapults.
Holy shit.
We got a Pharaoh in a chariot, as is awesome, with the Brew of Strength, and an Undead Army Standard Bearer on a horse. Something to keep in mind, Eric, if you are listening, is KOW is already up, or the Easy Army is already updated for the Clash of Kings rules. And if I'm not mistaken, your Pharaoh is actually defense 6, and not defense 5 is on your sheet.
Correct.
So heads up there. I'll go ahead and take this since I just finished it, or just finished reading it.
Yep.
I wish there was more shambling in here, because that Pharaoh is going to be out doing what Pharaohs do, and he's not going to be back supporting all them behemoths doing what they need to be doing. I think, is this the dude from Houston playing the Night Stalkers, Sean?
Yeah.
That came to the
Tyler? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a whole lot of games in, but he plays against Eric Nelson all the time with his rats.
Mark Taylor, yep.
Yeah, so he's getting a good education. His entire army is stealthy, I think, except for maybe 1 or 2 items. So it's going to mitigate a lot of that shooting from the catapults. I think I got to give this to the Night Stalkers. Dude's a solid player, and I think he's going to control the board here.
I'll echo that. Being someone who already played him at Lone Wolf, his army's good. He's got a lot of really high movement in here, so he's going to control the movement game. Shadowhounds are probably one of the best units in the game. I mean, it's definitely a top 10 unit in the game. Movement 9 with nimble, TC1, and regen, like
20 attacks with TC1.
20 attacks, yeah, they're amazing. They're just amazing, and he's going to be able to combo those with the fiends that are movement 8, and they'll have crushing 1 with vicious and stealthy and So I mean, I think he's got it in the bag, honestly. He can pull off so many combo charges that he's just going to be able to combo charge any unit he wants and make it go bye-bye. And then he'll be able to reform any which way he needs to take the next charge. That's my opinion. So I think Tyler probably by I'd say a 15 or 16.
If there was more surge in that dust list, I think it'd be a closer game.
Yeah, totally agree, because then you can catch him out, you can move forward, do your pivot, and then come into a flank after you lose on a charge.
Yep.
But yeah, I think you're going to be really hard pressed to pull that off.
Sean Bright, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going with Tyler there. I just think he's probably going to have had more experience. I'm sure Little Schnell's gotten good advice from his dad, because his dad's a real solid player. So I don't think it'll be a massacre, but he's just, if he doesn't have that much surge, it's going to be a problem with all those Night Stalkers coming at you.
I agree with you. Tyler's a solid guy. I don't think he's going to quote unquote take advantage of a younger player. And to your point, Luke probably does have that kid playing to a fairly high level, probably surprisingly higher than you would expect for him to be playing at for his first GT. The only thing I'll say is those behemoths are really tough, having faced a couple of them. If the kid gets clever and kind of runs them in just a train, it could cause problems. But yeah, I think I just kind of I got to go with Tyler on this one. I think Tyler gets a pretty sizable win. Probably not a full win. I think the kid still pulls some points out of him, but a solid win nonetheless. Probably 14-15.
It'll be a fun table too. I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope it's a very enjoyable, fun table for their for the kids' first event and for Tyler's first hometown event.
Yep.
Rick, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what everybody else has said. I know from talking with Luke that they probably have about only 6 or 7 games under their belt. And also with the fact that a lot of his shooting isn't going to be able to do much against the stealthy units. I'm probably going to have to go with Tyler on this one. But yeah, if he plays smart, he can do some damage with those behemoths. It's just going to depend on what else he can do with the rest of his army.
Yep. Cool. All right, we're moving right along. We've got the next table up, which is table Lucky 13.
Number 13, we have Steve Schifani against Stephen Firth.
Battle of the Steves.
Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
Steve.
All right,
Steve.
I've got Mr. Schifani's list here. He's running Forces of Nature. He starts off with 2 hordes of the elementals. One is earth, one is air. The air also has the Brew of Strength. He's got a horde of the Forest Shamblers with the Brew of Haste. He's got a druid with the Surge 7. He's got a tree herder with the Medallion of Life. And he has 3 Beasts of Nature with the Lightning Bolt upgrade. Oh, and because he can, he has 2 units of the Ogre Boomer allies, one of which has the Fire Oil.
Oh my god.
So, yeah,
Steve.
lots of...
Wow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
1 infantry, the rest is large infantry and monsters, yeah.
My balls hurt. Oh my god.
Oh, we know who
Worse
Jeff's
once it
playing
gets done,
around
but-
too.
All right. Well, Stephen Firth is bringing Ratkin.
Oh.
He is bringing the Ratkin. So he is bringing some Spear Warriors. He's got 1, 2, 3 hordes of Spear Warriors. So I think you know where this is going. One has the Flying Hammer and one has the Orbow. Then there's 1, 2, 3 weapons teams. Guesses on if they took piercing.
Yes.
And then he's got 1, 2, 3. 3. Okay, just making sure. 3 Death Engines with Vile Sorcery. Shocker. We've got a Warlock and another Warlock. One's got Inspiring and one's got the Amulet for more fire or for more lightning bolts. Then he's got a Demon Spawn with Flying Speed 10. It's like I've seen this list before. I don't know why.
I'm pretty sure when you click
Rat's having
Rat's
a kid.
It just auto loads it.
Pretty much.
It just auto loads that list.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, well, I finished, so I'll go first. You know, Steve's got a trick in that list that I'm not going to outwardly say, but it could really put Steven in a really hard predicament in turn 1. So we'll see how that boils out for the fight there. Schifani's stuff is fast enough. He's got enough reach to pick up a couple of things if he wants. I think Stephen Firth is going to corner up and just blow holes and stuff the most he can and keep on pushing off like you do with this list. And it's going to come down to some dice rolls realistically. Stephen Firth's going to pick up a lot of dice. He's going to throw them at the table and look for high rolls. So that's it.
That's an accurate statement.
I mean, that's what that list does. You grab dice, look for big numbers, and if you get
target
big numbers,
select.
you win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I echo that. I know the exact trick you're talking about that Schifani hopefully knows and will pull, and we'll see if that makes it a ball game. This is going to be a terrain game where if there's terrain that's generously placed, to stop stuff from castling up, it could be a ball game. If it turns into a shooting gallery, it's either going to be a draw, both of them sit back, or one of them's going to push forward for a win, and we'll see what happens. And depending on if it's a push forward and Steven's sitting back in his gun line list, I'd pick Stephen Firth in that. So it all depends, but we've played this enough times. I think Stephen Firth, I think he can pull that out. So Jeff Daniels.
You think so? I was thinking the other way slightly because to be clear, because Schifani has that crazy long distance with all those lightning bolts and shooters.
We've still played this, and again, I still think that you're not getting enough points unless you're coming at it
Sure,
And
sure.
That's the
The
pitfall
stuff
of
that
list.
matters. Yeah,
Yep.
the stuff that matters.
Jeff Daniels.
So the nice thing, Steve Schifani's coming with no thunderous charge. He doesn't give a crap about all the phalanx that's in that list.
Doesn't matter.
Language down.
He can really punch. He can punch through those
Language, Jeff.
relatively. Yeah, I know. Thanks.
Sinner.
Now I've played these lists enough time. I mean, Schifani, I got to go with Schifani. I think he's a solid enough player. Really, really good. He's competed at top tables in most of the tournaments that I've been at, where he's been at, and he's going to know how to handle this list. And I think he's got more than enough to take out what he needs to.
Yeah.
And I think Schifani by 14.
That's about where I was going. I was going with 12, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Both those lists suck. I don't like either one. They're pretty rough.
I don't want to fight Schifani's list. I'll tell you that right now.
From what you guys are saying, Firth hasn't been playing as much. Schifani plays a lot, and Schifani's been playing a lot with Dustin. They're like BFS, and Dustin can't say enough good things about him. And I mean, it's just stuff we've already known about Steve. He's been a really good player for a long time. I think he's going to win. I don't know by how much. It might be little, it might be big. It just depends. And if he's got a trick that Steven doesn't know about, he will use it, and he will make it work in his advantage to the best of his abilities.
Yeah, I'm looking at Schifani's list, and he has no chaff, but he really doesn't need it. And I think that's going to be the thing. It's not going to be as easy to get points off of them. I think Firth would have to devote so much of his shooting power just to take out one of those units. That if that's what it comes down to, then I think Schifani can probably pull this out. I think the terrain might have a big impact on this game as well, but I think Schifani can pull it out.
I mean, I think, and I don't want anybody to get me wrong here, I think Steve has a better all-around list, and I think Steve is a very solid player. I've seen this matchup too many times to where that's why I picked the way I picked.
Right.
In case anybody got upset. But, all right, let's move on to table 14.
You're wrong, Mark.
You just pick Ratkin all the time. God, Mark.
Surprisingly, I have picked nothing but Ratkin, right?
Squeaky bastard.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to table 14, we have Greg Kaufman against Julian Lesage.
Sean, you're up.
Yeah, so we got Greg Kaufman here. Sorry, my computer went crazy for a second. Got orcs, and he's got 2 regiments of Morax. And he's got a horde of Great Axe with a Brew of Haste. He's got 2 troll hordes, regiment of Gore Riders, another regiment of Gore Riders, Crudger on a Slasher, mount on a Wing Slasher instead. Okay, so he's Crudger, Flying Crudger, a Flagger with a Diadem of Dragonkind, 2 God Speakers. That's pretty awesome. War Drum and a War Drum. That's it. That's
one
cool.
War Drum.
I would just like to say that the person stumbling over that list is teaching your children.
Right.
Yeah, the person stumbling is just reading it as it goes. I don't know what the hell happened.
Good job. All right, so I've got Julian's list. Julian, you motherfucker, it's called KOW Easy. Use it. He's got an army standard bearer. He has a stone priest with the Fireheart amulet. He has shield breakers in a horde with the caterpillar. He's got another horde of shield breakers. They have the Brew of Haste because, move 5 is so much better than move 4.
Right, totally worth it.
He has 2 troops of rangers. He has a horde of rifles, and they have the Brew of Keen. That's a pretty good pickup there, actually. I like that one. He's got a warsmith. He's got 2 organ guns. He has a horde of earth elementals with the Amulet of Thorns, and because why not? he's got a unit of Dracon Rider Horde allies, and they have the Chant of Hate. So that is Julian's list. Man, I think if Julian had one more thing that had a little bit of mobility, I think that he'd get a little trick there, but he's got a fair amount of shooting. So, you know what? I think I'm going to pick for Julian on this one. The Orcs don't get across the table fast enough. When they do start to get across the table, Julian's super fast shield breakers at move 5. Just kidding.
Ooh, lightning!
Are gonna jump in front of that line and come and pop those Orcs in the face and teach them what for. Probably not a massive win, but like 13-14 range, and then probably maybe 2 of the bonus points, depending on if you have to really go out and get something. The rest of his stuff is slow enough that he's not going to go get across the table and grab stuff. Again, I don't know what the scenario is, so it'll depend on that. So 13-14 points, and then maybe +2 for the bonus there. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going with Julian on that. Julian's a really solid player. I'm not going off list this time. This is just based off the player I know, and Julian's really solid. And I mean, he hasn't had much practice, but he was good at Warhammer without that much practice, and he knows how the game works. So I'm going to go with him. Maybe not a big win, but he'll get it.
All right, Jeff Daniels.
He's muted.
Did he walk
away.
off? All
yeah,
right.
he's probably
Sorry,
going to be.
I was looking at lists.
I'll go ahead.
Jeff Swan.
I'll fill. Yeah, so I think that this one is going to come down to another terrain deployment. You know, Julian's going to be really, really subject to terrain in this game. He's playing dwarves without very much movement except for those lightning quick B5 guys. He's not going to be moving a whole lot off his line. He's going to be dependent on quite a significant amount of shooting. You know, I'm trying to get the terrain on this table to be favorable if I'm the orc player, and then I'm just not really going to engage and maybe play the scenario VP bonuses and play for the draw, or get in a piece of terrain and fly out of it and drop on people that way. I'm probably just trying to get terrain to drop so that Julian can't shoot me in an advantageous way.
Yep.
And play for the draw and the extra VP and be done in 30 minutes. So I'd say if the orc player is smart, I think the orc player, you know, takes a draw or small win.
Yeah, but it's round 1. You know, guys are going to run at each other.
Oh, totally. That's the problem. Is like you're going to want to run at it, and it's not really what you're going to want to do.
Wing Crudger. I mean, maybe there's a way. There's a building.
You're not going to hit any of Julian's units in the frontage and break any of them.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Not unless you're doing like a triple charge.
And the Crudger isn't coming in with defense 6.
Right. It's.
No, I'm saying vault over and try and get war machines or something.
But Julian, you're not going to have that capability. He's going to deploy around him to where you're not going to get up and around.
I agree. I'm just saying.
Julian's not stupid. He's never going to deploy in a fashion that you're just going to hop on those war machines. And he doesn't have any. He didn't have any individuals with flying that are going to just be able to hop up over and fit this little guy into this little slot and triple his attacks. It's not a great matchup for him. He should be playing for the draw and the extra VP and just walk away and be happy about it. So
Jeff, you're back. You want to finish that up? Yep.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Rick gets to finish after you, but we were waiting on you.
He always does.
Slacker.
Sloppy seconds.
So yeah, it's terrain, and orcs can't have the movement phase dictated to them, and unfortunately that happens far too often. And Julian has no reason to move unless the scenario dictates it, and even if he does, he's got that Draken Horde to go and strike where he needs to, and the Surge to move those elementals where he needs to.
A little bit of flank pressure. Yeah.
Yep. So I what Swan said, you play the draw, and if you can jump out and take something, great. If Greg can get Julian a little blottoed, may have a chance there.
Right.
But I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I got to go with Julian. I'm going to go with Julian on a 11-9. That's the way I would play it.
Wow. Okay. Rick.
Yeah. I think Julian's going to take it. I think a little bit better than the 11-9 you're guessing there, Jeff. There's such minimal range damage that orc army can dish out, and so the dwarves have them on the range. They have that Draken Rider unit is going to be able to fly where it needs to help out. I think he's going to just be able to pick off what he needs to and sit back, and then if Greg gets to the point where he has to charge across the board, then he's got enough defensive staying power in those big hordes that he's not going to be able to budge easily. So I think Julian's going to take it.
Alrighty, that'll do it for that round. What have we got for the next table?
Table number 15, we have Aaron Chapman against Zach Clark.
I feel like I have seen this list before. So this is what Justin's list should have been.
This is how you really make a list, Justin.
So Aaron's bringing the Brotherhood. He's bringing those bowmen with the Jar of the Four Winds. Again, I think when you click that bowman, that just appears. 2 of the Regiments of Redemption, awesome units. Regen 5, Headstrong.
Yep. They're solid.
One with Strength, just like Justin. One with Caterpillar, just like Justin. A unit of Chaff with the Reconnoiters. And 2 hordes of the Forsaken, which was probably a better use of points than the Villainous. And 2 of the Redeemers, which are the individuals with the Regen 5 and everything awesome with them.
Mounted?
Oh, they come mounted.
Yeah, they come mounted, yeah.
Those guys are solid.
And, we've seen this before, an Exemplar with the Ensorcelled Armor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Justin, or that's what Justin's list should have been. That's Aaron's list.
All right. So he's going up against Zach Clark, and he's playing Undead. So he starts off with 2 troops of the Soul Reaver Infantry, one of which has the Pipes of Terror, the other with the Chant of Hate. He's got a troop of Wraiths. He has a regiment of Mummies with the Brew of Courage. He has 2 legions of Zombies, both with the Giant Rats. A regiment of Zombie Trolls. He has the Cursed Pharaoh with the Honey Maze. He has a Vamp Lord on a mount with a Blade of the Beast Slayer. He has a Lich King on a mount with the Heal 6. And he has a Necromancer with Bane Chant on a horse and the Inspiring Talisman.
All right, Rick, you want to kick that one off or you want to punt?
I'm going to punt because I really don't know where to go with this. My gut instinct is he's got a lot of inspiring on this side of the table. He's got the gigantic legions, and the troop units are small, but they the Soul Reaver infantry dish out a lot of damage. They got 20 attacks with Crush 2 each. I think if Aaron can get into those and take out those troops quickly, that's going to go a long way. Remove that chaff. And then he can kind of deal with the rest of the army as he needs to. But that's still just a lot of big units to get through on this side of the table once he gets through the little chaff.
I'll go next. Aaron's gonna win. Love you, Zach.
Thanks for the insight, Sean. Jeff, you want to go? Or?
I'll go. I think Justin's list does have something that Aaron doesn't. I think Justin's list does have something that Aaron doesn't. He's got the regiments of the Peg Knights instead of the hordes of the Peg Knights, and as great as those hordes are, you're really only going to get front charges unless the person's not smart. The regiments, they fit tighter where you're trying to put them. I think Zach's got a lot of board control, and that can't be overlooked. Zach's got Surge, and that can't be overlooked. I don't know, man. Like, Aaron's list is really rough, but I think Zach has a lot of cheap stuff that he can put in the way, lots of high break points. And the also taking that Flying Pharaoh and just darting that fool out and locking down that unit of regen knights early, just with a thunderous charge. You can fly out, lock those guys down for literally the entire game, and knock that whole unit out. And when you're done having them knocked out, because they're not playing Steel K-Pack, fly somewhere else, go lock down the other one after you've got your zombie legion into what you care about it being into. I just think that you can't overlook Zach's board control. We know that Aaron's a great player, and you can't discount that. But I think that Zach has the tools to hold Aaron off, and this is not going to be a pushover for Aaron. And this is not the matchup that Aaron wants either. This is not what Aaron wants to play on game one. I'm gonna give. I've seen Zach roll some pretty awesome rolls, and I've seen Aaron's early games not go so well for him. So I'm gonna go with some inside knowledge here, and I'm gonna go with Zach, and I'm only gonna go with a 12-point victory here. But I'm also saying that Zach's gonna take a lot of VP, the extra victory points off of this one because of his massive amount of board control. I think if there's a scenario in play, he'll be able to capitalize on that.
So I'll go. I think a lot of the X factor is going to be Zach's vision for second and third turn moves, and his vision for Surge and how well he executes Surge. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be the decider of, well, who really wins? Does Aaron win? Because Aaron's going to be anticipating a lot of that stuff too. But at a certain point, Aaron's going to have to commit something and then hope he either breaks it or hope that Zach either doesn't see something or can't pull it off or can't make the rolls. So, all that being considered, I am still going to go with Aaron on this because Aaron's a real clinical player. I think he's going to set himself up for victory and try and avoid that Surge X factor as much as possible. The Flying Pharaoh is going to be a very big factor in this, but give me Aaron. I'll probably take like a 13 or 14 with Aaron. Along with the bonus points, because he's got enough movement that he should be able to pick up everything.
This is a really, really good matchup. I like it. Zach's not a slouch as a player. I've played him several times.
Very good player.
We've all seen Aaron play. We all know how he plays. I agree, Jeff. I don't like the hordes of Forsaken, but I think Aaron plays a pure numbers game and counts on getting dual charges with them.
Sure.
And so I understand it. Zach's got all the tools. The problem is I think it's going to go, if it goes towards Aaron, it's going to be big because something wrong happened and it cascaded. If it goes to Zach, it's going to be small because Aaron doesn't give up points.
He mitigates
easily.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Zach, and I'm going to go small points of about a 12, especially since I know what the scenario is.
I don't, but I was kind of gambling on board control. So
I do love those Redeemers that are in that Brotherhood list, but Zach's rocking just as good with the Pharaoh and the Vampire, if not better.
Alrighty, we're looking at table 16 now. What do we got?
Table 16, we've got Joseph Lanham against Mark Taylor.
All right, Jeff, you got the first list?
Yes, I do. So I've got Joseph's list, I believe, versus Mark's list.
Correct.
Joseph.
You get Joseph.
This ought to be fun. Well, I know Mark Taylor plays against Ratkin a lot, so that's already going against him. So we got Ratkin here. We've got 1, 2, 3 regiments of tunnel slaves. This looks really familiar. Did somebody copy and paste this? Shock troops. We've got 1, 2, 3 units of shock troops. Hordes, like you do. Then we've got Blight again, a horde. I gotta make sure I'm not reading the wrong list because
did James Gush?
Yeah,
Did James Gush put in 2 lists?
No, Joey plays high.
Okay,
Joey
I'm
plays
just
elf.
making sure. Okay, I had the wrong one pulled up. Holy
Okay.
shit, because I was like, this is like literally a copy paste. Okay, so he's playing elves. Fair enough. That's what
Motherfucker
Alright.
can't read.
he's right next to it when I clicked it. All right, so he's got elves. That'll be a little bit better for him in this matchup. This is certainly better for him. So he's got a regiment of kindred archers. He's got those are naked. He's got palace guard. I don't know what y'all's feelings are on palace guard. I think that they're probably like the one unit in the elves I would never take. They melee
They
3.
look
Their
good.
defense 4. Yeah,
They look good, but
they're like the elite fighter guys with crushing 1, right? Except for they don't ever have an option to go up to defense 5 like a lot of the other elite fighters do.
one-on-one straight fight, those shock troops beat the hell out of those
Oh
guys.
hell yeah, yeah. But anyway, palace guard. He's got a troop of glade stalkers. You don't see that often. You gotta be a pretty finesse player to be bringing those. This little vanguard with some bows, pretty much. 4 shamblers. He's got the horde of those with a diadem of dragonkind, so that's a fun little trick. See how that works out for him. He's got Stormwind Cavalry, a regiment of those guys with a dwarven ale, so maybe try and shake off some waiver results. He's got a horde of Dracon Riders, just 1. A Helm of Confidence, because he doesn't want to get held up by anything. He's got a Elven Mage with Bane Chant 2, Heal 3. He's got the Tree Herder with Medallion of Life. I don't know if there's an elf list that doesn't have that in it. He's got the Green Lady and the Green Lady's Wild Guard. So again, he'll have the regiment of Wild Guard that'll have defense 4 and regen. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's optimized, but I would say it's a pretty solid list.
It is pretty solid. Sean, what is Mark bringing?
Mark Taylor is bringing some dwarves. Yeah.
This will be optimized.
Horde of Iron Watch rifles with Jar of the Four Winds. 2 hordes of Earth Elementals. Jesus. 2 regiments of Brock Riders. 2 Flame Belchers. An Iron Belcher Cannon. And lagging computer, Jaren Bombard, 2 of those, Army Standard Bearer with Diamond of Dragonkind. We got 1 Stone Priest with Bane Chant, and the Warbow, and then we got a King on a Large Beast with Brew of Haste. Joey's fairly new to been playing. He plays with Paul. He probably doesn't have that many games under his belt. He's good, but I think this dwarf list is going to do some damage to him, and I think the dwarf player's probably going to take him out pretty. Might not be a big win. I'd say he gets a 13 at least. I mean, he's got all the tools he needs, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of hidden grossness in that dwarf list that I don't think is outwardly apparent to a lot of people, but he was able to take second best general or something like that. Lone Wolf.
He was awarded with best general, having the 2nd highest battle points.
That's right. Okay. So he knows what he's doing with the army. Obviously, he's got a lot of games in with it. But those drone bombards and a cannon together, they just do so much damage. And that King on a Beast is just a massive speed bump. I think with the concessions that this elf list has in it, it's gonna be an uphill battle. Those Palace Guard are gonna be dead almost
What's that Lobbit
immediately.
rule?
The Lobbit rule. So basically, it can fire indirect or directly. So it doesn't suffer from like the regular indirect rules. You can actually shoot it within the 12 inches, or you can use it as indirect. So
you get your choice.
It's a little bit more expensive than most of the stone throwers, but you get a little bit more out of it. I don't see how the dwarf player doesn't win this by at least 14. So.
Yeah, I'll take it from here. I totally think that Mark Taylor is just gonna roll over this matchup. It's not that Joey's list isn't good. It's good, but it's you've got pretty solid optimization on the dwarf side. Concessions, like Jeff was saying, on the elf side, and Mark Taylor has already proved himself to play this list to a very high level. You know, I don't know if he's tweaked a little bit, but it sounds pretty identical to what he brought
It's
to our
identical,
tournament.
literally. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Hopefully he's got it painted and can contend for overall. But yeah, I got to give it to Mark Taylor. I'll take full win on this one.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, it's worth noting he's got that tree herder at height 4 and those Dracon riders, and like he's got so many expensive units that are a just instantaneous focus for those war machines that are just never going to see combat.
Unless I touch Mark's dice.
Yeah, dude, if you touch those,
and then it's a ball game.
Man, then we got ourselves
Ball
a game.
I can be hired. Yeah,
ask Tyler Coughlin.
I'll go next. So Joey plays Paul Wysocki most of the time, as Sean said, and I think Paul sees Joey as his confidence builder, but I think eventually Joey's going to be a better player than him. He's coming along.
He's going to learn a lot from this game.
This is a set terrain. Terrain's going to matter hugely.
Yep.
Whether this is a cascading waterfall or something closer to a draw. You need some patience, and you need good terrain, and you need some misses on those war machines and that green lady doing her stuff. It's an uphill battle, as he said. I think it's firmly in the dwarves' hands, and depending on how terrain is placed and whether or not somebody gets antsy, I got to give it to Mark at probably a 14.
Gotcha. Rick, final thoughts?
Yeah, I hate to echo everyone else, but the dwarf has him on more powerful range shooting, and the combat units that he does have, they have more more staying power, more hitting power. I think it's going to be really hard for him to earn a lot of points off of that dwarf army. It comes down to just being a bad matchup for that army. Unfortunately, but I think if he places the terrain right, then he can at least minimize the damage and maybe not give up a full win. But I think this is probably solidly going to be in Mark's hands.
Yep.
On that note, I'd like to thank Joseph for coming out, because I think this is his first GT, and we're really happy to have him. Sorry.
He's going to have a lot of fun. It'll be a learning experience, like we said, and trial by fire.
Yeah,
man,
everybody's
honestly,
first GP is a learning experience.
This is one of those things. Just like you're gonna learn so much from it, and he's gonna get inspired to just be awesome by the next one. You'll see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do we got for the next table? Table 17.
Table 17, we have Patrick Allen against Luke Schnell.
Oh, this is gonna be a good matchup. All right, I've got Patrick's list. He is bringing undead. He has, good lord, hold on, let me count this. He's got 6 troops of ghouls. He has a regiment of zombie trolls, a horde of zombie trolls. Respect for running those. I love that unit. He has a horde of werewolves. He has a regiment of revenant cav with the caterpillar upgrade. He has 2 revenant kings on undead worms. Both of them fly. He gave one the Medallion of Life. He gave the other one the Brew of Haste. Interesting little upgrade there. And then he has a vampire on an undead dragon. And that is his list.
Damn.
It's a lot of chaff, and then he's got a little bit of speed with a lot of punch behind it. So what's he going up against?
All right, so Luke Schnell's the list. He's playing orcs. And so he's got 2 axe swords with nothing on them, 2 Morax regiments with the one with the chant of hate.
That guy's gonna win.
A Gore axe rider troop, a Gore chariot regiment, which is kudos to you for running that. Nobody uses those. Flagger, Gakamak, bonus points there. He's awesome. On a boar, Whip the half-caste, Whip's Playmates, which is a regiment of the Snotlings, I believe, and 1 giant. Can we make it 2 giants? Nope, we got a war drum.
War drum's still good.
Yeah, war drums are awesome.
He's got no god speakers?
No God speakers.
I'd like that a
Wow.
lot better if he had a second war drum.
This one, I'll go ahead and take this one because
Yeah, go for it.
it's pretty straightforward. I don't know Luke, and I don't know who's playing this one, Patrick. So I've never met either of these two guys. But man, Patrick's got Orc's Bane is chaff. If you can control them, control those hordes, and dictate where they're going, and he's got the chaff. I'd almost use this the same way I do my herd. And those 3 dragons are just going to pick the fights wherever they want and punch it in the face. This is firmly in Patrick's hands, I think, and I don't think terrain is going to be a huge factor in it at all.
I'll go second. I echo that. I think terrain is going to be negligible. I actually do know both players. I know Luke from way back in the day, from my Bayou days when I used to live in Houston. Luke is an amazing game. Luke's a really, really good player, but I'm guessing he's a little out of practice. And I know Patrick. I met him at Lone Wolf. Patrick's a pretty solid player. This list is pretty good against orcs because it's got all the mobility. It can box them in like Jeff was talking about with those ghouls, because the ghouls don't shamble, so you can you got 12 inches that you can play with those little dudes, and he's got a lot of them. So he can pick and choose his fights. I will take the undead list, Patrick. I fully expect you to win this. I don't know if it's going to be a huge win because those orcs, if they ever get to attack back, they're going to pop something. So probably like 11, 12, 13 style win there. Whoever wants to go next, go for it. I'm going to grab a beer.
I'll go. I'm pretty much just going to echo Mark. That undead list can just pick and choose where it needs to go, and it's got enough chaff to keep the 2 giant hordes tied up. I mean, it'll be hard to get rid of those giant hordes, especially if he's got the war drum behind it, but it's just those dragons will be able to choose where they're going to go and what they're going to pop. So I'm going with Patrick on this one.
Yeah, I gotta kind of echo that. The issue is what that I see with the orc list is, man, no God speakers. I think 2 God speakers is almost an auto include in the orc list. They just really like that extra support. There's so much chaff in the undead army that he can just give up anything he wants to get the charges he needs. I don't see a situation that is super favorable for the orc player in this setup whatsoever. So I gotta hope Luke's a pretty good player, is what people have been saying. I don't know him. I know if I got this undead list and I'm looking across the table, feeling like a pretty confident 16 in my opinion.
The problem with this list, especially with orcs, is has the potential to be a very demoralizing game because the orc players' choices are going to be so controlled. And don't look at it that way. If it does go that way, at least learn. Take what you can positive from it and approach the game again. Don't let it dictate your mentality towards the game. But I think this is going to be a very, very frustrating game for Luke.
Yeah, I know Luke pretty well. He actually ran Bayou 1 way back when, so he kind of got the whole tournament scene started here in Houston. And then he took some time off, and he came back and he played once, I think, in 7th edition, and hasn't been back since then. I know he's got the 2 teenage sons that he's bringing with him. I'm pretty sure that's all he's played against, so he hasn't had a lot of experience against a lot of the other armies out there. So, like everybody else, it's going to be a learning experience for Luke as well. But it's good to see him back out here. It's going to be a fun game. Patrick will enjoy the game a lot. Luke's a great, fun guy to play against. But yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle for him, unfortunately.
All right. Says welcome back like a tough game, right?
Yeah, something like that. So we're now on to table 18. Some dude by the name of Mark Cox.
That guy's a dick.
Against Andrew Heineck.
Andrew's not
So,
much better.
I have Mark Cox's list in front of me.
Does it say
As
5th or
always-
7th place?
It says boat anchor, suck it.
As always, the only army he owns, he's playing the Rats. Starting off with a legion of the Tunnel Slaves with the Crystal Pendant. He's got a regiment of shock troops with the Helm of Confidence, and then a horde of shock troops with the Brew of Courage. He's got a horde of Blight with the Brew of Strength. He's got a horde of Brutes with the Brew of Haste. Add in 2 regiments of the Vermintide. Add in the ubiquitous and mandatory 3 weapons teams with the Storm of Lead. He's got an Enforcer with the Inspiring Talisman. 2 Warlocks. 1 with Bane Chant. And then the Demon Spawn with the Fly. And he's so nice he had 5 points left over and couldn't squeeze it in anywhere in his army.
He's so
well.
giving.
Oh.
Oops.
The 5
So-
is for the 5. The extra points is for the place that he's gonna get 5th. Like, 'cause he can't go
You
above
can
5th.
suck a dick.
All right, so he's playing Andrew Heinrich. I'll let Mark tell the fun story about why this is so awesome after we're done
Well,
here.
Yeah. Give us the list.
So Andrew, I know this is going to be a shocker for everybody, but he's playing dwarves. Another army that like the only thing he owns. So we got Ironclad to start it. They got a regiment and another regiment of those. So those are your basic warriors at 110 points. Melee 4 with 5 defense. He's got a horde of shield breakers. Andrew does love those hammer style units. Nothing on them. They are naked. He's got a horde of earth elementals with Brew of Haste. So it takes him from movement 5 up to 6. So I don't know if that's going to be any kind of benefit. Berserker Brock Riders. He's got a troop of those and a regiment. The regiment has a Brew of Strength, so they'll be hitting with a Thunder's Charge 1
TC,
and Crushing 1
Yep.
with Vicious.
Nice.
Not
Not gonna need it.
gonna need it. Yeah, I'd like to see the elite there a little bit better, but everybody plays different. We've got a Flame Belcher, just 1. 2 organ guns, though. He does have 2 organ guns. He's got an Army Standard Bearer with a Diadem and Dragon Kind. Get himself an extra breath weapon in there. He's got a Berserker Lord on the Brock with the Blade of Beast Slayer. Mark doesn't really have a lot of options for that guy to go clean up, so
Yeah, the demon spawn.
yeah, not really.
He ain't
And then
gonna
he'll
catch him, but that's
He'll
what
also
he's
have a
got.
King with the Wings of Honey Maze, so he's planning to go lock something down with that. Mark's seen that plenty of times. And then we've got a Stone Priest. The Stone Priest has Bane Chant 2. He gave that the extra on there, and then he's got a Scrying Gem, so he's gonna make Mark drop an extra D3 plus
Nice.
1
I like
for
it.
his first drop, which really
No,
Mark's
that-
out dropping. Maybe.
That's
Eh,
important.
might
That's
be.
important. I like that item a lot. Very important.
And then he's got 1 Greater Earth Elemental. So, Mark, you want to explain the significance of why this is so awesome that you're playing him?
Yeah. So this is awesome for another a lot of reasons. One, longtime rat player against a longtime dwarf player, classic matchup. 2, Andrew's a Masters player. I'm a Masters player, so solid players all around right there. 3, and the most important to me is my very last game of Texas GT Warhammer was against Andrew Heinrich, Rats vs. Dwarves. And my very first Texas GT, because I didn't get to play at Lone Wolf, is against Andrew Heinrich, Rats vs. Dwarves. What a great way to kick off KOW in Texas for me, man. This is a solid freaking matchup. I love it. If you guys want to weigh in, I'll weigh in, last, or Rick can.
Yeah.
I don't care. But I'm just super stoked to be playing Andrew. It's awesome.
All right. Well, I finished up, so I'll go ahead and start. Mark gets to play against me when I'm playing my dwarfs often enough. The thing is, Andrew's list is quite a bit
Very
different
different.
from how I play. I don't particularly care for the Oregon guns personally, so that's something Mark's going to have to deal with.
Good.
Andrew's got a significant amount of reach. Mark has lightning bolts that are pretty much going to do the same. So there's not really a range game difference here. What Andrew does have is the sneaky little surge stuff he can do. That's not really going to catch Mark out though too much.
Nope.
So what else do you have to look at here? You got a lot of high defense. You got the Brock guy that's really not going to do too much versus Mark again.
He can do one.
He only has one target, so I don't know, man. I like Andrew's list. I don't like his list versus what Mark's bringing. I know what those freaking shock troops can do, and
Your freaking boyfriend already. Shit, Jeff. Come on.
I'm trying real hard to not say Mark. Believe me, there's nothing I want.
Get the win here.
There's nothing I want more than to say that Mark's gonna lose. But
just swallow it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Just swallow.
We're gonna go with Mark on this one, but we're gonna only go with a 12 because Mark is incapable of rolling average. So we'll go with the 12.
I'm going to go with the Cox on this because he's going to slow play himself to victory. Plus, the Rats are just going to... He doesn't have to move forward, and the Dwarves do. The Dwarves kind of do, unless Mark just sucks, which, I mean, that's also possible.
I do suck.
Sometimes, yeah. So, slow play to a win, Mark. You got this.
Justin Ballsack it up. All right.
All right, I'll go next. Yeah, I'll go next. I unmuted myself. All right, so one thing I do know about Andrew is that he will have thought and optimize his list to the way he plays as much as possible. He's super active when it comes to dwarves, but he has had a kid, so I don't know how much he's been playing. The one thing I don't like in his list is that Greater Earth Elemental. I see very little. That 40 points that he needed for that could have been gotten in that Scrying Gem and somewhere else in here to make that a second horde of Earth Elementals. I like what he's doing there, but I'm just not crazy about it, especially when it's only 40 points more for a much better unit.
Yeah.
That said, it is an armor cracker. Sad part is there's no armor in Mark's army.
Right, yeah, there's no armor in Mark's army. That's the thing. You're wasting points.
It could come down to whose shooting is more on point. I've played Mark enough times, especially in competitive lately, and you know what? If the pants are still on at the end of the game, we'll know that Mark has not had a great game, and it's getting pushed in. So, Andrew, I'm going to pull for you. I want to see him go down. He's on too good of a streak lately. But it's not going to be by much. It's going to be low. 12 for Andrew.
Now that's it's not how I'm gonna pick it. I'm gonna think Mark's gonna pull it off because he's got some chaff and he's got that big anvil unit with the Legion of Tunnel Slaves with the pendant there. So I know Mark's going to play smart with his rats. He always does. Like I said, it's the only army the dude owns. He doesn't branch out versus anything. So if he doesn't know this army, something's really wrong. So he's probably too hungover from Friday night if that's the case. So I think that's going to be Andrew's plan of attack is to get you lit up and be really stupidly hungover on Saturday morning.
Yes.
I think that would be the wise thing to do, and that way he might minimize the damage, but unfortunately, I think Mark has this.
All right, so I'll take last word on this one. I look at this list and it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for me, man. He's got a very, very solid list. If I can get him to play it wrong, great. Good for me. But he's such a good player. I don't think he's going to play it wrong. I actually give him the edge on this one. Those two organ guns, man, I've seen him roll organ guns against me, and it was not pretty the last time it happened. Granted, it was a different game, but Oregon guns are still Oregon guns, right? Like they're horrible when they hit, and he's going to hit a lot with these little bastards.
Yeah, but they hit on 5s, right? 15 shots,
they
hitting
hit
on
on
5s. I mean, he's got
fives.
2 of
Only
them.
hit
It's
five.
a good amount, but
I will try to make them hit on worse than 5s. Don't get me wrong, but
there you go.
I still like it, and I still like I have a feeling I know how he's going to kind of line up. So the Scrying Gym probably won't help him. Well, it may help him. It won't help me too much because I kind of know how I'm going to deploy. I have a feeling I know how he's going to deploy, even if I deploy weird. So yeah, I'm actually going to give the edge to Andrew. I think like a 12 or 13 point win on his favor. I'm really good at grabbing objectives, though. I've obviously got more speed than he does, so I have a feeling I'll be able to grab probably 2 of the objectives, maybe all 4. I don't know. We'll see how that works out, but I'm going to give the edge to him on this one. So yeah, moving on. Table 19. What do we have?
Table 19, we have Chris Davis against Roger Lopez.
All right. I have Chris Davis's surprisingly Abyssal Dwarf Army. He's got 3 troops of gargoyles. He's got a horde of Abyssal Grotesques with the Caterpillar, a horde of Abyssal Grotesques with Brew of Courage, another horde of Abyssal Grotesques with Blessing of the Gods, and then a final naked horde of Abyssal Grotesques. He's got 3 Dragonfire teams. He's got an Abyssal Half-Breed Champion with Boots of the 7 Leagues. I don't know what that does. It's 35 points.
Vanguard. Unless in Vanguard.
Oh. Okay. All right. Sorry. And then he's got another Abyssal Half-Breed Champion with Ensorcelled Armor, and then a 3rd Naked Abyssal Half-Breed Champion.
Jeez.
A lot of imagination on that one.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Well,
I have 3 units. I'm going to use those 3 units.
Well, he dropped the ogre shooters that he had at Lone Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, he learned his lesson on that one, didn't he? Yeah, those don't count for objectives. What? Yeah, they don't. Oh, shit.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. So I''ve got Roger Lopez. He is bringing Varen Grrr. He has a horde of Bloodsworn. He has 2 regiments, Sons of Korgan. They both have the Gift of Korgan, so they get brutal. He has 1, 2, 3 regiments of the Fallen. He also has a horde of the Fallen. He has a regiment of the mounted Sons of Korgan. They have Caterpillar on them. He's got 2 Magus Conclaves, and he's got a Magus on Mount, Banechant 2, and Inspiring Item. So I will run with this. They are both combat armies. Roger's going to have the ability to throw just a little bit of shooting before Chris is on top of him because they're both moving so fast. He's going to have to watch out for that Vanguard move, though, because if Chris does the Vanguard and then he gets the first turn charge, he's got a pretty solid distance to close with that. Unfortunately, most of the stuff that Roger is going to have up front, if Chris charges it and Roger countercharges, it might die. So he may be giving up points early depending on what he's charging. Man, those hordes that Chris is bringing are going to be hard for Roger to take out. Roger's got more drops, obviously. So if he plays right and he plays for angles and he plays to set up flanks, or he uses a couple of his cheaper units as chaff and set up flanks or set up pincers, he might be able to pull it off. God, I think paper on paper, I want to go with Roger. I don't know how much Roger's been playing. I know Chris has been playing a whole lot in Austin, so I'm actually going to go with Chris for a win on this one. They're going to beat the bloody shit out of each other, though. So probably, well, you know what? Roger doesn't have a whole lot of inspiring in there.
Nope.
I'm gonna take Chris for like a 13, 14, 15 point win on this.
Well, I'll make it quick. Yeah, I agree. Roger's list is fast, and it can take out some stuff, but this list he's going up against is going to be a big problem, especially with the breath attacks behind the Abyssal Grotesque or able to
I
pop
don't
in.
even think Chris needs the breath attacks.
He
Like,
doesn't,
that'll just
No,
but
sweep
yeah,
up,
it's
he
just
doesn't.
extra. It's like
that'll
icing
just
on
sweep
the
up
cake.
whatever's behind. Like, oh, well,
That's
congratulations,
what I mean.
you're
Like, it's
behind me.
like-
I'm going to breath weapon you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking
I think
about.
those are there just for if he's facing
Flyover.
a bunch of flyers.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
only
yeah.
clear some
Yeah,
chaff. That's good.
I totally agree.
But even then, they're still good. Like it's
Yeah.
and the half breed champions. Yeah, I'm going with Chris on this. I want to go for Roger, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Chris with probably a 14.
Yeah, short and sweet is. I mean, Chris's list is definitely one of the roughest lists at the event. Those individuals going out
only
and
if you're
being
only-
able.
I just think only if you're focused on combat, Chris's list is rough.
Well, not even that. Like, he
If you're
can
playing
lock
balanced, like, you could beat that list. But
He can-
Roger
he-
is all
yeah.
combat, so
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like Chris can really lock down the units that matter for him with those individuals, knock off the under his charges and things of that sort. Just lock them down and
They
then
could
bring
barrel in later.
bring
Yep.
the hammers in the next turn.
I agree.
Man, I don't know how Chris doesn't win this one. Honestly, I mean, you're talking two beat sticks versus each other, except for the grotesques have regen and crushing strength and thunderous charge, like
Yeah, and Roger's got nothing to
and
focus fire
vicious
him with. Yeah.
because of Abyssal Dwarves. So I think Chris has this one hard. I'm gonna go 16.
All right, I'll go next. And so here's what I'm seeing when I see this. One, terrain is a huge factor in this game.
Could be. Yeah.
Roger's Fallen absolutely control the board as far as it depending on how the terrain is placed. Chris has a ton of flyers. Honestly, he's got a ton of chaff because in this matchup, those dragon fire teams just become 50-point chaff. Trail them along behind, get them where you need to.
Plus the individuals.
Yeah, plus the individuals on top of that. The mistake here, and maybe in future matchups it's not, the Mage's Conclaves, I don't think have a huge purpose in the way this list is constructed. I would rather have seen a second Inspiring and a second Horde of the Fallen. So use one to bump up one of those regiments and use the other for an Inspiring. I think you got a rock solid list at that point.
I agree.
Because of the Pathfinder and all the nimbles, so I'm looking over at these Abyssal Grotesques that are so nasty. You only got 18 attacks, and they're only hitting on 4s. So they are Crush 2 with Thunder 1. Control the terrain. They're down to just Crush 2, and they're only wounding 6 out of 9.
Their
On
defense
average,
5 with regen on top of it.
Crush
They are-
2 is
they are
Crush 2's
defense
nasty
5 on
against
that.
everything Roger's got.
But Roger's also healing up with the Iron Resolve. He's got plenty of crushing
Yeah,
on
but
his
he's getting one back with Iron Resolve.
I understand what you're saying. I think if terrain falls in Roger's favor, I think he can pull it out.
Oh yeah,
But
if he can lay it across the middle of the table, I think you're right. But
I do think it's Chris. Chris has so much chaff to lock down the table that I think he controls the table well enough.
Chris
But
doesn't have chaff. Chris has
Oh my
no
god,
chaff.
he has
nothing.
so much chaff. His whole army is chaff,
Troops of
dude.
gargoyles.
He's got 4
Oh,
units
he did
and
have gargoyles.
chaff.
I forgot about the gargoyles. Sorry.
And 3 individuals with huge defense and regen.
Those
and
fuckers are
weapons
not
teams he
chaff,
doesn't-
dude. Chaff it goes out there and dies.
Gosh.
Those individuals are not necessarily going to fucking
Those
die.
are chaff.
Can't
Now I
believe
will
we're
say
not attention.
Chaff, dude.
God.
They're 100 points.
those regiments of the Fallen, they fall into that same chaff area that Jeff talks about with that hybrid chaff. I can go out and beat stick something, but I can also cough it up if I need to, if it's going to make it more advantageous later.
Yep.
So I'm going to give it to
Then they're not
Chris.
chaff. Doesn't count. If they can
chaff.
kill stuff, they're not chaff.
Shut up, number 5.
I don't know.
Rick,
Just saying.
what do you think?
Go ahead, Rick. I give it to
Well-
Chris. Small points, 12.
Well, I had to play Chris at Lone Wolf first game,
Sorry.
and I know how he runs those grotesque units, and how he runs those individual shooters.
Literally across the table.
Well, I didn't have any flyers for him to worry about. And he basically would probably, the way he would run them was he'd run them all together and kind of protect the flank almost with them. What I think is going to happen is I think that Chris's units can take a punch better than Roger can. And because of that, I think it's going to be in Chris's favor to just kind of sit there and do what he can to set up what he needs to with his charges. If he's a little aggressive, I think that Roger might have the advantage there. But it all depends on the terrain quite a bit. But I just don't think that there's enough punch behind what Roger can do. I mean, he's basically going to have to try to tag team these things, do a front and flank combo charge to put enough of a dent on those grotesque units to try to take them down. And I don't know if he's going to be able to set that up very easily. So I'm going to go with Chris, probably a 13 or 14 point win.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to get those flanks. Cool. So table 20 we're on.
So table 20, we got Jeff Franz against Eric Nelson.
All right, I've got Jeff's list. So he's taking ogres with a little sprinkle of Varangarer on the top of the donut.
Grrr.
Angry donuts.
Grrr.
All right, so the ogre, he's got 3 hordes of ogres, one of which has crushing strength 2. My son is very happy about that. There's 2 hordes of boomers, an army standard bearer with the breath weapon, Rakamaka Maka, and a mammoth with the ballista. That's it. And then for the Garamararar, there's a troop of the Thunderwolves, and there they are. I knew they were in this tournament somewhere. That nice horde of Direfang riders. And just make sure. Yep, that's it.
All right. Okay, so he's going up against Eric Nelson, who's playing Ratkin. And he starts off with 2 hordes of blight. One has the war bow, the other has the flying hammer.
Oh, he did it! He did it! He put the blight in. I love it.
He backs that up with 4 troops.
Good. Love him.
Backs that up with 4 troops of claw shots. He's got a horde of brutes. The mandatory 3 weapons teams with the Storm of Lead. A Death Engine with the Vile Sorcery. A Warlock with the Fenulian Amulet. And he's got an Assassin with the Diadem of Dragonkind and the Flying Demon Spawn.
So literally his lone wolf list.
Pretty much, yes.
No, exactly. I played him in the final game. Exactly. Yeah.
I think he's got enough shooting that outranges what Jeff can toss at him. So I think in the early phases, if he can put a dent in some of those units across the board, he can definitely play it up to his advantage. The big hordes of blights, they're going to be tough to move. I think if the terrain is in his favor, I think Eric's going to win this one fairly handily. So I'm going to go with Eric, probably 14. I know he's played this list quite a bit. I've played against him. He's really good with it. So, like I said, I think Eric's going to win this one.
Gotcha. Jeff Swan, you want to go next?
Yeah, I played against Eric's list the last game of Lone Wolf. We had a great game, so obviously I know his play style. I know who I don't know the person he's playing against, but just looking at the list, it's pretty much what Eric's list is built to take care of. It's a lot of really high point costed units into single targets. It's basically what Eric wants to see when he gets a matchup. So, it's just a bad draw. This is one of those ones where you're going to try and come across the table and he's going to pick you up. If you're smart, you just sit on your back edge, don't come forward at all, make him move up, use the terrain to your advantage, stay to where you can't be shot, and go for the draw. That's my best advice to you. Don't give him points, and pick up the VP at the end, and go to game 2 and have a fun game 2.
Gotcha. Sean, you realize you're on mute, right?
I don't think he does.
Good.
Well, he's
we'll
just
leave
not
him
there.
that way.
We'll go to Jeff.
Jeff Daniels, you're still on mute.
No, I'm not.
There you go.
I didn't think you wanted my son's commentary. All right.
Go to bed, you're grounded. Oh, shit.
All right, so I played Eric, or excuse me, I haven't played Eric. I've TO'd Eric several times, especially at the small tournaments at the stores. Extremely competent player. He knows this list. He knows what to do with it. If you charge him, you're playing into his. You're playing directly into his hands. One of the problems that Jeff Franz's list has is you can't hide those Dire Fang Riders. That footprint is so big that you can't even put it on the back edge, and it's probably going to be lost on this game, even if you try to protect it. And that's a 250-point loss right there. This is
hide it behind terrain. That's about it.
Yeah, pretty
even
much.
then, Eric outdrops him by a fair amount. So he's gonna his shooters are gonna go down late, and the Dire Fang Riders are tall enough that he's not really gonna get much cover.
Yeah.
Park their ass in a forest or behind a hill.
There you go.
Behind the forest.
Behind the forest in the
Yeah. But he's going to cross shoot. I mean, with that many claw shots.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I got to give it to Eric, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be pretty big. So I'm going to go with a 14 here, short of, man, this is where you miss those rats blowing themselves up.
Yeah. Bless you, Rick. I'm gonna say, yeah, Eric's gonna win. Eric's gonna shoot him. Jeff's got a combat army. He's gonna have to go to him if he wants to win, or if he wants to go for a win. If not, just trying to sit back for a draw. And if you're starting to move up against Eric, that's what he wants, and he's just gonna be able to shoot you.
Exactly. Yeah. You could take a big loss, or you can take a small loss. It's up to you. I mean,
that's pretty much
realistically.
You get super lucky. You take a big win, but you got to get super lucky on that.
He's
With
got
that list, I don't
extremely
think he
bad
has.
dice rolls. Like,
That's
gotta
the
be
issue.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my thoughts are Eric wins this game. Jeff is a really, really good player, though, and it's just a bad matchup for him on paper. I mean, if he can throw a lot of terrain out there and get the correct side of the board and make Eric play through the terrain and shoot through the terrain, there's a good chance that he could cross the table. But if he can get stuff to block line of sight, he can play a draw too. Not that anybody wants to play a draw. I get that. Again,
But you're
first
crossing the
game.
table into what? Two hordes of blight?
Well, and that's
With a
that's the
-1 to
problem.
hit 'em?
Is like you get across the board. Those blight die easy, but you've got to put at least 2 units into there because you've got to do the wounds because you've got to do the hits. So it's going to be tough, but he doesn't have 3 death engines like some of the other lists. He's got the weapon teams, but Jeff just doesn't have the range
17 lightning bolts
to throw it out there and pop it. So. Depending on how Eric deploys, if Eric has a staggered deployment or a corner deployment, he may be able to go after him. But again, it's terrain dependent. I don't think he should. I wouldn't in that matchup.
He's too smart. Yeah, he won't.
Give me Eric. Rick, you get final thoughts, and then we'll go into the next table.
I gave my thoughts at the front. Like I said,
Okay,
I think
there we go.
So we'll just jump on into the next table.
Cool.
21. 21. Okay, we have Kelly McCullough, who's coming in from Beaumont against Lex Simon.
Nice.
All right. You want me to start with Kelly then?
Go right ahead.
I'll go right ahead. All right. So we got Abyssal Dwarves here. Kind of reminiscent of something you saw from Bowman. So let's see. We've got some Immortal Guard. The regiment of those guys with the Brew of Haste, because Got to make those dwarves quick. Decimator Horde with your heart-seeking chance, so they'll be piercing 2. You got 2 troops of slave orcs. I don't think I've seen anybody run troops of slave orcs, but that's a cool little speed bumps. Only 65 points.
They can be, yeah.
Yeah. You got a gargoyles pack here, just a troop of them, like you can have. We got lesser obsidian golems, a horde of them, and another horde of them. One of them's got the diadem of dragonkind, and the other one with the blessing of the gods. 2 abyssal half-breeds. Those guys are naked. Those are those chaff we've been talking about that are dual purpose. 125 cav with regen and all that fun stuff. You got a abyssal half-breed champion. Sorry. The first ones were the abyssal half-breeds. Those are just actual troops of half-breeds. And then he's got 1 abyssal champion with a boomstick. I'm not sure I quite understand what he's going for with that at all. You get disrupted, you can't really use the boomstick, and you kind of want to be marching with him for a majority of the game, so I'm a little perplexed on that one. We've got an Iron Caster that he has with the Inspiring Talisman to keep up that back rank. He's got his Surge 8 on him. He's got another one with Surge 8 and the Fireheart Amulet, so he can throw 2 spells one time, and he's got a Greater Obsidian Golem. It's got a lot of holes in it, but I'm sure it's a very fun list to play. It looks fun to play.
Cool. Sean, you've got Lex's list.
I do. Lex is bringing Kingdoms of Men. He's got 3 troops of Militia Mob. He's got 2 hordes of Berserkers. He's got 2 regiments of Knights, 1 with the Caterpillar. He's got 3 Siege Artillery, and he's got 2 Army Standard Bearers, 1 mounted and with the Diadem of the Dragon kind, and the other one with the Warbow of Kava. He's got a Wizard with Bane Chant 2 and Lightning Bolt 3. And then he's got Forces of Basilia, Horde of Alohi with Brew of Haste, Alohi, and Alohi. And I don't really know where to go. I've never seen Kingdoms of Men played. He's got some pretty good stuff here. Those Berserkers are pretty nasty.
They're amazing. Yeah.
They're like dwarf Berserkers.
Better. They got Crushing 1 on top of it.
They're better.
Yeah.
That's
So
not
you got
cool.
a band check if you drop on top of it?
And they hit on
Yeah.
3s instead of 4s.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh, holy cow. Okay. Yeah, I'm going with Lex. Just 'cause I know Lex has been playing for a long time. He's a solid player, and this list looks pretty nice. He's got everything he needs. He's got the Knights to go for the flanks. Berserkers just run up front with Militia Mob chaff in front of that. And Siege Artillery, he's got, what's the range on that, 48?
The Siege Artillery is 36.
Yeah, 36. Okay, so he's...
I'm pretty sure.
Still nailed pretty much everything. And
Oh, you know what? No,
No,
you're right.
it's
It's
gonna be
48.
48.
It's 48
48.
indirect.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, he only hits on 5s, but those are pretty good. I mean, D6 plus 2
cover.
blasts. And
You
direct
got
fire.
3. You're going to hit 1.
Yeah, piercing. Oh man. And just the Alohi backup there is pretty good too. I don't know what he was doing with the. I guess he wanted the lightning bolt range instead of the fireball 6, which I mean you don't want that wizard up there anyways. He's not inspiring. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Lex on this one.
Cool. Jeff Daniels, your input.
So one of the things I don't like about this Abyssal list, and having played Dustin all these times, is the discriminators in here really serve very little purpose short of keeping Lex's flyers from flying around behind him. He's forward moving at speed 4 or 5 across the board with no reason for anybody to ever come to him. So I'm not crazy about those, especially with none of the mortars in here at all. So I great, kudos to him for making something a little different. But I think that's his downfall in this, because I think Lex is going to force him to run across that table, and he's going to come across dog slow, and those artillery are going to eat him up. And when he gets there, those berserkers are just going to delete units. That's kind of what I see here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
make
gonna
mine
see-
short too. Mine's
I see Lex at a 14.
Yeah, I pretty much echo what Jeff was saying. The whole army's so slow, and the parts that he does have that are quick, the abyssal half breeds, are just troops and such a low break point. If anything hits them, they're just gonna die. I don't like those in troops personally.
And Lex has his own chaff
And Lex,
control.
Lex has plenty of chaff and plenty of reach, and I know Lex to be a very good player. I unfortunately I don't know the Abyssal Dwarf player, so my gut's telling me Lex is going to take this one. But I'd even go as much as a 15, because Lex also has board control, because he has more speed after he deletes anything that he cares to delete. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't hear anything really that I thought would give Lex trouble, and everything that I heard from Lex's list was just going to cause problems. So yeah, I'll be simple. I'll take Lex with a heck. I'll go 16 on Lex. I just don't see what the other list can do to him. Again, that's paper on paper. Players make everything different. Dice rolls go different, but that's my hot sports opinion. Rick, your input.
Okay, Kelly's coming over from Beaumont, and I'm 98% sure this is his first GT.
Okay.
So he plays over in the Beaumont area, so I'm not sure how much exposure he gets to a lot of the armies out there. So it'll be a bit of a learning experience for him, and unfortunately, this first game is a bit of a bad matchup for him. I will say this, though, Kelly, you will enjoy the game. Lex is a great guy to play
totally.
against. You will have so much fun in that first game, even if you do end up losing. So, don't get discouraged by that part of it.
This is where Kelly's going to learn some stuff here. Lex will both impart some wisdom to him while he's playing him, and he's going to make it a fun game while he's doing it.
Yep.
He wants to drink with you, so buy him some drinks. He's great.
Yeah, Lex is solid fucking player.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think Lex will have this one, but like I said, Kelly, you're going to enjoy the game.
Most certainly.
All right, we're on to table 22.
Table 22, we have Tom Datzel against Matt Hakala.
All right, I have got Tom's list, and I want to make sure I've got the right one pulled up. He's got Undead. He has 2 troops of ghouls, 2 regiments of werewolves, 2 Soul Reaver Cav regiments, Blessing of the Gods, and Caterpillar. He has a Revenant King on Undead Worm. He has a Vampire Lord. He's bought him Lightning Bolt 3, and he's mounted him on a skeletal steed. He has a Vampire on Undead Dragon. Again, Lightning Bolt 3 on that guy, and he bought him in Sorcelled Armor. That is Tom's list.
Ouch.
Yep.
That boomstick again.
I didn't have to have a boomstick.
No, the boomstick on a dragon. Okay.
No, he
It's-
just comes with
it's
Lightning
not-
Bolt 3.
Yeah, he comes with
No
Lightning
boomstick.
Bolt 3 option.
Vampires come with Lightning Bolt 3. Yeah.
No. The Revenant King. He gave the boomstick to on the
Oh,
dragon.
we gave that to the Revenant King.
No. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. My bad. I did miss that. It is right
God,
there.
Mark.
Yeah.
I'm channeling my inner Jeff. I can't read.
You mean your
Your inner
I forgot which
Sean.
Jeff we were talking about.
Yeah, Jeff Swan can't read.
I don't know. I have a problem.
I thought you might have been stroking.
Ah.
All
All
right,
right, I got Mr. Kala Jr. here.
Yep.
He's running the Varangararar. This could actually be a pretty entertaining matchup. So you got Regiment of Thralls, basically just a chaff unit. You got a Horde of Bloodsworn, seems to be the only size they come in. A Regiment of Sons of Corrigan, a nice beat stick unit. You got that Regiment of Fallen. 2 Tundra Wolf unit, two troops of Tundra Wolves. Mounted Sons of Corrigan with Headstrong, Fury, and the Caterpillar. Cav with the Caterpillar, imagine that. You've got a Mages with Lightning Bolt 4, Bane Chant 2, and Inspiring Talisman. You got a King Eye Chimera, and Hydra the Fallen. And I'll go ahead and start this off. So you got two major flyers on each side of it. This is actually a really, really good matchup. Terrain's going to be a big factor. Hakala's got two Pathfinder units and the individual flyer, so he's got a little more maneuverability. But you got that Vamp Lord on the mount, which is almost as good. Short of tape measure shenanigans, I'm going to say that. This is tough. I think Thomas has a little more punch in his list. He's definitely got a little more speed to dictate in those werewolf regiments and the 2 units of cav. The drops are about equal. I think
Thomas has the range too. Don't forget.
Oh, he's got the boomstick.
Matt. Well, I mean, no.
I'm joking.
That's the X factor.
That's the X factor there. I'm just saying, like, I don't think you said Matt had really any notable reach out.
He's got Lightning Bolt 4 for chaff popping or finishing off a unit. That's about it.
Nothing of note.
I should say that the King has life. The King on Chimera has life leech with ensorcelled armor.
Regen. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's also got a breath weapon. Yeah.
And a breath weapon.
Breath weapon will help.
I think I'm going to lean towards Thomas by. I think this is going to be a big win one way or the other. And I'm going to go with Thomas for a 14.
Gotcha. I'll go next. Honestly, it's obviously not a mirror match, but when you go, well, he's got this guy that does X, Y, and Z. Thomas and Matt both have that guy. Oh, well, he's got one of these that does this, this, and this. Thomas and Matt both have that. The only thing that Matt really isn't exploiting. Oh, wait, no, yeah, he is, because he's got Cav with the Caterpillar too. I think Thomas has a couple of troops where he can exploit that and then kind of get around it. I think that werewolf regiment, he's got 2 of those. I think those will play a big part in the game if he plays them right. Just play for the flanks for the entire time with those guys. 18-inch move and then free pivot. Hell yeah, take that all day long. And it's weird. He's got an undead army, but he's not reliant on surge whatsoever. So that's where the lightning bolts are coming in, and so he's actually getting more damage out of short movements than he would if he was trying to focus on surge and getting a unit up there and get it in position. A lot of life leech. Golly, everything in the list has life leech, at least 1, if not 2. So
what are his werewolves? Are they regiments?
Yeah, but they're regiments of werewolves, but just every time he gets into combat, he's picking a wound back up every single time.
Yeah, but they're not.
They're low nerve though, but they are defense 5.
He just depends on where he's going with them. He's gonna try to pick the right targets.
Well, his lowest defense is 5 in the entire list.
Yeah, I get
well,
you.
No, I'm sorry. The ghouls are 3, but those are 2.
I'm not even counting ghouls. The ghouls are. Yeah, but the Tundra Wolves could also take out the ghouls if that's in the way, or the Tundra Wolves can hold up some werewolves if need be.
Lightning bolts could take out the Tundra Wolves.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of it might. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with Matt on this one. I think I like the Varangur better. I don't like Matt's army per se, but I don't think regiments of werewolves are that great. You're gonna have to get them in the flank against a lot of the stuff Matt's bringing. Those Sons of Corrigan are pretty. That regiment's pretty solid. So I'll go with Matt.
I will say, if that unit that Hydra blesses pops back up and is able to come back and turn that combat, that could be a huge point in the game.
And that's probably, that's got to go on the regiment of knights, that's a solid unit.
it's infantry only. So it's
Oh,
either,
it's infantry
is
only.
it?
So it's one of the son. It's one of the other sons. But
Or the
again,
horde.
that
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, the horde would be great too.
Yeah,
I
it's gonna be
think
situational. Whatever I can save my points on, and then turn around and pop something.
yeah.
Yep.
And then he's got his one fly guy doing cleanup or hunting on one of the other dragons if he needs to. Yeah.
I guess I'll go next. So in a tight matchup like this, I kind of always start going towards the favor of movement, and I think that's not in Matt's favor on this one. Uh, and on top of that, you got the early reach. I think if you're talking the same tactical player on both sides, playing one list or the other, if I had to choose one, I'm gonna choose this undead list. It has a little bit more well-rounded list, and I just think that well-rounded is always going to suit you better in the long run. I think what Jeff said is right, though. It's going to turn one way or the other real hard, real quick. You set him up and then knock him down. You're going to control the chaff game, I think, with this undead list. So I'm gonna go with the undead. I'm gonna go with the 14 for undead.
Okay. I think this is a game that can be very close up until about turn 4, and then at that point, somebody's going to have either a run of luck or something's going to run in their favor. I think the undead list has a little bit more flexibility in it than the Varangur list, and I think because of that, I'm going to go with Kelly on this one. I think, sorry, I'm going to go with Tom on this one. It's going to be close. I don't see this being a blowout either way. I can see either a lot of people getting both sides getting a lot of points, and then one just kind of pulling it out at the end. But I for some reason I don't see this being a blowout either way. But I think it's going to be close. But I'm going to go with Tom, probably about a 12 on this one. And I think terrain can also be a big player in this as well.
Absolutely. Totally agree. All right. Are we looking at table 23 now?
Table 23, we have Brian Kokett against Lance Kennedy. I've got Brian's list. He's running Varangur.
Wait, what? What?
Yeah.
What?
Yes. And he's starting off with 2 Hordes of Fallen, with a troop of Tundra Wolves, a regiment of the Mounted Sons. They have the Gift of Korgan, so the Headstrong and Fury, and toss in the Caterpillar Potion for good measure. He's got 2 troops of the Horse Raiders, and he swaps those out, the throwing weapons out for bows on both of those. He's got the Horde of Direfang Riders, also with the Gift of Korgan and the Blessing of Gods on that one. He's got a Magus on Mount with the Inspiring Talisman, a King on Chimera with the Ensorcelled Ulmer, and then he's got 2 Scalds on Mounts.
Pretty solid. Let's see what Lance Kennedy's bringing here. We got Abyssal Dwarves.
And it's an Abyssal Dwarf gun line.
It probably
Dustin's
is.
list.
Yeah. So we've got Immortal
Is it carbon
Guard
copy?
Regiment. Yeah, it's like literally copy paste.
Oh,
Immortal Guard Regiment with the Throwing Mastiff and Pipes of Terror. Oh no, it has Pipes of Terror on it, so that's a little different.
why the fuck would you take that?
I don't know.
That's terrifying, Mark.
A
That's why.
regiment of Abortion.
He's really expecting combat with that, right?
So you got 2 hordes of golems.
Of course.
So Decimator Horde Heart-Seeking Chant. I don't know why you usually go elite on that instead, but okay.
Elite or range, one or the other.
Yeah, well, he's going to Heart-Seeking. So +1 piercing. 2 Gargoyle Packs, like you do, but didn't take 3. 2 lesser Golem Hordes. Flying Hammer and Warbow Akaba. 1, 2, 3 Mortars, and Supreme Ironcaster on a Wing Half-Breed with Surge 10 and Blade of Slashing, because you're going to get in combat with him so often. And another Abyssal half-breed Ironcaster with a Mace of Crushing this time. Surge 10.
I do like the names of his mortars with Fear, Pain, and Terror.
Yeah, Fear, Pain, Terror.
Those are going to dictate the game.
Yeah. So this is basically Dustin's Abyssal Dwarf list that he's done so well with. I don't know.
Not a knock. It's a solid list.
It's a really good list. Yeah.
So how are you leaning, man? You're
Well, I
first
think
up.
the list pretty much just
Say it.
it
I know
plays
what you think
itself.
it did.
Like
Okay.
it just
It
does.
does.
Like I'm sorry. Like there's just no other way to say it nicely. It's Dustin's a great player and he doesn't need something like this, and he's not bringing it this time. But this list just plays itself. It's just grab dice, roll high, profit.
Smash.
So.
Oh.
The list wins. So.
All right.
I'll go next.
Okay, you want to
I'm
go,
gonna
Sean?
beat you to it. Yeah, Brian's gonna beat him. Brian has a very similar list to that, and Brian knows that list in and out. Brian's a very, very good player. I wish he would travel. I think Brian takes him easy.
Who's he playing? Brian.
Wow.
Brian Coquit. Yeah. Brian's bringing Varangur, which he was playing Basilia.
I wish he went to more tournaments.
High point units. It's gonna be rough.
It's his high point units, but I mean he knows what to do against that list for sure. He can outplay the list. I'm not saying Lance isn't a good player, but Brian knows exactly what he needs to do against that list. And he could win it fairly easy. I'll give him. I'm not gonna give him a full thing, but I think he's gonna get 13.
Wow.
I'm going to go next. I'm going to jump in here. So Brian also plays Abyssals. He's played against that list any number of times. So he does know it, but he also doesn't have a great record against it. And I'll tell you, I played this exact same list almost. I played a better version of the list that Brian's playing in Oklahoma, and while he's got what he needs, it's really
Who's running? Roberto?
Roberto's list. That was a really good
His
list.
list was good.
And he played it well as well. This game and how it ends up is going to be dictated in the first 2 to 3 turns on how those mortars go. If those mortars drop out some of his big point units, some of the money makers in here, Brian's not going to recover, and Brian knows that, and he may well play back because of it. So I'm going to go with the Abyssal Dwarf list, but I think Brian's got a good puncher's chance. He is a good player, and I'm going to say the Abyssal Dwarves at 12.
Cool. I'm going to take the draw. I'm going to go with the experiences. So if you guys are saying Brian has experience against that, I'll give him the 11-9 win. If you really want to break it down into a win, but I'll call it a draw. I think if he's smart, he plays back and just says, all right, well, let's see if your mortars can do anything where, hopefully they can't see if I play terrain right. So
Yeah, I think that's what I do with that list.
I think you have to. Sometimes you got to take a draw, man.
Sometimes a draw's a win, man.
People don't take enough of them, especially in a competitive setting. I will say, those horse riders, I got new appreciation for those things. Those are not too shabby.
They're good. Rick, thoughts?
Yeah, I think the one big advantage that Brian's list has is it's got speed. I mean, the slowest thing in that army are the Direfang riders at speed 6. Everything else is 8 or 9. So I think that if he plays smart, uses the terrain to his advantage, and doesn't let him concentrate fire with those mortars on the big units early on, he may be able to, hold off for the first few turns and then pull something out at the end. Like you, Mark, I see this being a very narrow win. I could see it going either way.
Oh, yeah.
But, if he plays it smart, if he knows what to do and more importantly, what not to do against that that list, I think that he can pull out a narrow victory. So I'm probably going to go Brian, but probably no more than like an 11. It's going to be very close.
Yeah,
I am going to say
nobody's going to be shocked either way, right?
no.
Correct.
Yeah.
I will say the Abyssals don't give a rat's ass about speed.
True.
You're coming to them. They're in their formation. They're going to get their counter charges if you charge.
And then they're gonna lap around and
They're very, yeah.
I can say that's why the terrain's going to be important. If he uses that to his advantage, then he might have a chance.
Absolutely.
What are you drinking, Dad?
All right, we're on the table 24 and finding out what Dad is drinking.
What's Dad drinking tonight?
What's your funny juice? Is that your fall down juice? Is that your mommy gets a black eye juice?
All right.
Uh,
Table 24.
Off the rails. Off
We've
the
got-
fucking rails.
I'm
All right.
surprised we lasted until table 24 before it went there.
That's right.
We
Good,
have
good.
Scott Hakala against Dustin Howard.
all right, I got.
Okay, hold on. Let
Scott's
this
list.
sink in. Look at this
Right.
matchup. How great is this matchup?
It's pretty.
Amazing.
Right?
Do, we,
Right?
do I have to give the list out?
Yes,
Say who's
give
gonna
the
win?
fucking list.
Okay,
I want to
alright,
hear
alright.
this. This is great.
Because
Because it's not what you're expecting.
Yeah.
it's Crossbowmen, the Horde of Crossbowmen with Jar with 4 wins.
Let's be clear, it's Twilight Kin,
Yes, Twilight Kin,
You
sorry.
gotta say that,
which have a
Alright,
pseudo
Twilight
list
Kin.
right now.
motherfucker.
2 troops of 10 gargoyles, Horde of 6 Abyssal Riders with the Caterpillar, Darksight Chariots, 2 regiments of them, one with Firewall, one with the Blade of Slashing, the Dark Lord on Battle Dragon with the Medallion of Life, High Priestess with Mount, with Inspiring Talisman and Bane Chant. You got an Army Standard Bearer with the Diadem of Dragon, and you got Basusu the Vile. Oh, there's a little more. He's got Night Stalkers, a horde of fiends with the Brew of Strength.
It's pretty good. So we just got done talking about how Dustin likes to run Abyssals, or Abyssal Dwarves, sorry. That motherfucker is bringing orcs.
Yeah, he is.
He has a horde of axe. He has 2 regiments of the Morax. He has a regiment of the Gore Riders. He's got Caterpillar on those little bastards. 1 God Speaker, Banechant 2, Inspiring Talisman. He's got Gakamak. He's got him mounted on a Gore. He's got a Giant. He's got 2 War Drums. Oh, does that sound like I'm not done yet? Because I'm not. He's got allies, and he has a regiment of Spirit Walkers. He has 2 troops of the Beast Pack, and he has a Chimera with wings.
Yeah.
So he's making up for a little bit of that lack of speed that orcs have with these allies by throwing these guys in there. Granted, 2 of those are chaff with speed 10, but that Chimera, that's interesting. That's interesting. Man, those war drums are going to help out a whole lot. Scott's going to try to shoot stuff off the board. Man, I know how Dustin likes to play, and if he can get Scott to think that he's doing something when he's really doing the total opposite, he'll pull Scott out and get Scott to expose some stuff, and he will just totally take advantage of it. So I'm gonna go with Dustin on this. Orcs are probably on paper the lesser of the matchups between Twilight Kin and themselves, because Twilight Kin are a really, really solid list. Orcs are pretty one-dimensional. Given these allies and given that little flavor that he throws into it, I think that bumps it up a little bit. So I'm going to go with Dustin, probably a 14 to 15 point win. If he can really catch Scott out, if Scott's on his game, paying attention, playing fast, and gets through turn 6 and gets to 7, maybe it's only a 12 or 13 point win. But I will take the Super Beast. Full faith.
I'll go next, and I'm also taking Super Beast here. I've played against this list a couple times.
Oh, you
and
played
is-
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
All
is. He plays it very well. I mean, any list he takes, he plays very well.
It's pretty tricky, isn't it? It's pretty
It
tricky.
is.
Yeah.
We talked a
It's got some
lot
tricks.
about those herd allies.
And he finally decided on him, and he was going back and forth, but he stuck with him, and those allies help him out a lot. And then that freaking horde of axe, and then the 2 regiments of more
I can
axe,
see it, dude.
like all the giant in there, Gaka, that one, the one God Speaker with that war, the 2 war drums. That's what I was talking about.
The war drums are there, man.
They're freaking.
Those are game changers.
Yeah, his nerve becomes ridiculous at that point. It takes so much to kill his stuff, and he's not bad with defense. He's good at melee, and then now he's got the speed. And that Chimera, you're like, nah, it's just a Chimera. It's not nothing, but it is some stuff. That thing will surprise you once it gets in there.
You know what it can't do? It can't kill a tower, can it, Jeff Daniels?
Almost so close. So close.
Nowhere close. Nowhere near.
Ah.
You're up, dude. You're picked.
All right. Yeah. So I've watched this list. I've talked this list. It's my fingerprints are in this list. What a lot of people don't realize or don't catch, those war drums are monsters. So they're coming in on flanks and stuff like that with 6 to 9 attacks at Crush 2 or Crush 1 TC2. Gakamak is a beast, and he just owns 18 inches of the table, 16 inches of the table. That man is that little dude is awesome, and people don't give him enough credit. That guy at Oklahoma City, I could not convince him to even try him.
You mean that guy that got bottom place and then wouldn't take the trophy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right.
Who was a Mantic Pathfinder? Yeah. We're calling you out on this.
I didn't want to
right
call
now.
him out on that. I don't want to do
Not
that
naming
to him,
names.
but
We're not naming names.
you know
All
who
right.
you are.
I'm not crazy about Scott's choice of Night Stalkers. I think if you're just going to bring one for flavor and speed, there's a better option.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad one. It's legit. You're 12 hits and Crush 2, so with Vicious, so it's not bad.
Doesn't make sense though, because he could have just taken another unit of the mounted abyssal.
Yeah.
God, those guys are so good.
They're stupid.
Scott makes 2 other concessions. Those 2 chariot units and throwing magic items. Granted, it's only 10 points of magic items, but I don't like chariots in this game. I tried them. I tried to make them work. It's just the nerf sucks on them, and they're just not tough enough. And their footprint is huge.
That's fair.
The last thing, I don't think those crossbowmen are going to earn their points back because the way Dustin's going to play, he's going to have a hard time focus firing on any one thing at any given time, and he's not going to put enough wounds on it with the war drum. So I'm giving it to Dustin. I'm giving it at least a 14. It could go worse.
Cool. Jeff, I think you get to weigh in, and then we go to Rick.
We're saying it can.
Yeah, Dustin's got this one. I'm really confused on Scott's list. It just doesn't have a lot of synergy. In my personal opinion, it's not something I look for. I would look at it and be like, oh man, this is gonna work great with this and couple well with that. Like it's just kind of all over the place. I'm sure maybe he has models for it and stuff, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I was hoping Dustin was going to be my boy and bring out some fight wagons for some orcs and show people what's up.
Are awesome.
But he didn't do that. We were talking a little bit, but Dustin is hands down one of the best players coming to this tournament, and you're going to see him do amazing things with that list. And Scott's just going to unfortunately be the first victim for it in this matchup. So. I don't know that Dustin doesn't take at least a 14 on this.
Cool. Rick?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by Scott's list because I know he's gone a lot more shooty heavy in the past, especially in the last 8th edition Warhammer there. So to see him go with a little bit, kind of sacrificing a little bit of that, I don't know, people didn't really like the, facing that shooty list of death that he had, so he's making a little concession there, which, I applaud him for doing that. But unfortunately, I think he's going to pay the price for it. I think Dustin, he's rock solid player. He knows his list, and I think he's going to pull it out without too much of a problem. It's going to be probably a good 14 win for him.
Pull it out, put it back in, pull it out, put it back in.
Out, in out. Good. In, out, in, out.
So, what are we on? We're on, is it table 25 already?
It's finally table 25.
Table fucking
Of the
25.
tournament. So we are down to the last two victims. We have Nick Michelonis against Ethan Schnell. So, Jeff, I think you got Nick's list.
I do, and now mute is off. All right, so I've got Nick's list. Oh, my lord, it's Ratkin. Would you guys like to guess what's here?
I'm going to guess 3 Doom Engines, 3 Hordes, 2 Warlocks, and a Partridge and a Pear Tree.
I think you just got a claw shot in there, too.
So close. So
and
close.
3 weapons teams.
3 weapons teams. How could you miss that, Jeff?
I thought that was, when you click Ratkin, it automatically applies those, so I didn't think that was necessary.
So we got 3 hordes of spear warriors, 1 with the dwarven ale, 3 weapon teams. Oh my god, they came with piercing. 3 death engines, and they are so vile in their sorcery. 2 warlocks, 1 with both with lightning bolt 5, 1 with lightning bolt 7, I guess, with the amulet. The other one with helm of confidence, and oh, whoa, look, there's that little demon dude. And yeah, of course, he's got fly.
Yeah.
No surprises there.
Come any other way.
I don't think it comes without it.
Should.
Nope.
Instead of adding the option to add it, it should just say, for 50 points cheaper, you can take away the wig.
You can have a cheaper demon.
You know, we really just should have matched all of the Ratkin up against each other because they're all the same. And just mirror match them, except for yours.
Absolutely. I will own that matchup. I'm so good at Civil War, baby. Bring it on.
All right. So Nick's going to be playing against Ethan Schnell. He's playing Elves. Starts off with a Horde of the Sea Guard and a Horde of the Tall Spears. He's also got a Horde of the Forest Shamblers with the Brew of Strength. He's got 3 troops of the Silver Breeze Cavalry and a regiment of the Stormwind Cavalry. He's got a Bolt Thrower. He's got an Army Standard Bearer. He's got an Elven Mage. 2 of them. One has Fireball, the other has Bane Chant and the Amulet of the Fireheart. And then he has a Tree Herder with the Medallion of Life. You know, Ethan's another one of those rookies coming into a GT here. Probably doesn't have a lot of experience against some of the lists out there. He's got some decent elements. He's got a couple of decent anvil units in the big hordes. You know, I think if he plays the terrain to his advantage, he can hold out a while. But that list he's up against. And there's so many targets, I don't know if he's going to be able to take enough points off of it before he gets it himself. You know, it's going to be one of those things where, again, it's just kind of a bad matchup with a lot of the ranged firepower that unit or that enemy he's going up against. So, yeah, I unfortunately, I think Nick's going to get this one probably pretty easily. But again, you know, I hope Ethan learns a lot from this first game. You know, because I don't think he has much experience against the Ratkin. But you know, it's going to be a tough first game. But you know, hopefully he'll learn a little bit more about what his list can and can't do, and that'll help him out in the future rounds.
I mean, Nick's a good guy, so I'm hoping he'll be a good game for him. But that, like, Nick's the experienced player, and he's got just a nasty list, so it's gonna be rough, and he's gonna win easy. But I'm sure he'll be able to teach Ethan quite a bit of stuff, and hopefully he'll go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's one of our local players over here. He's one of the guys that is pretty enjoyable to play against, in my personal opinion. He's not gonna be that guy that's gonna be the jerk at the table or not let you do something, especially when you're not inexperienced. He's gonna let you. He's gonna play a real tight, nice game with you, and he's not gonna try and teach you on anything. That being said, Nick's list is just. I mean, it's what you're used to seeing out of Ratkin, and it's gonna do what it does. And unfortunately, if you haven't seen it, it's
It'll get you.
it's something you won't make a mistake playing twice. So
Yep, I'll go here. Um, I think even though on paper it's a bad matchup, I think it's a good matchup for Ethan if this is his first GT. Nick is a very nice dude. He's a very solid guy. He's very courteous. Yes, his list will just totally decimate you, but he's smiling the entire time. He's happy. He's generous. He's helpful. He works with you. So I think personality-wise, I think this is a good matchup. This is a good entryway into saying, like, look, GTs can be tough. This is going to be a tough game, but Nick's not going to be that guy that takes anything that he doesn't deserve. He will help this kid. He'll hopefully use it as a teaching moment to be like, hey, man, you're coming in. Awesome. Let me tell you about this. I might not move up that far on this turn because I could hit you with that next turn, so maybe you stop right there and then we work out that way. I could totally see Nick doing that, and I think that'll be really good for a lot of what we're looking for right now is growing the community, and I think that's a good matchup. I think Nick's a really solid dude. If my kid were old enough to play, I would have no problems with him playing Nick because I know Nick would take care of him.
and Nick will give him a lot of pointers after the game too on what mistakes
during the
and stuff
game, dude.
like that.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
even
Nick
during the game.
Nick's
Yeah.
very good.
So bad matchup on paper, great matchup on if my kid were playing, Nick's a perfect opponent, like super solid guy.
Yep.
So I still think Nick wins, but that's kind of given at this point, right? Jeff Daniels, are you still there?
Yep. So
All
what
right,
I am.
you want to weigh in?
Yep. So what I do like, I think Ethan's got it. I actually really like Ethan's elves. I think it's a pretty entertaining list, and he's got a lot of elements that he can. That by game
That
two.
close, man. That close to being like great list.
Yeah. I think by game two, game three, depending on matchups, I think he's gonna definitely win some games in this tournament because people aren't going to be expecting this. But I will say this: Nick's list is short, medium range, and you can definitely stay out of that and take the draw.
But you don't want to take a draw when you're a kid walking into a game.
Absolutely. That draws require patience, and they require you to have.
Trial by fire, dude. Just do it. Who
Absolutely.
And learn from it.
I think that the list he's bringing, it's going to function in every element of the tournament. I love those Silver Breeze Cavalry. They're a little expensive, but they're gonna do him well throughout the tournament.
He's going to pick something up with it. Yeah.
Sorry, Ethan, but I think you're going to have a great first game. Take it for what it is and learn from it. Milk Nick for all of the knowledge he gives you. So I'm going to go with Nick, and I'm unfortunately going to think it's pretty big, so I'm going to go 14.
All right, Rick, final thoughts on the matchup?
I think everybody said everything that needs to be said. I'm happy to see some of these younger kids coming out here. I know my son's just about the age of some of the kids who are out here. He's not quite ready to play, I think, in tournaments, but that's one of the things that we all need to do is try to get some new blood into the game. There's lots of people out there on the Facebook groups that are in the Kings of War group, but they're not necessarily tournament players. And I know that we're trying to work on that here in Houston and get some more people out to these tournaments. I mean, let's face it, people come to these tournaments, I think probably 90% of them, 90% of the people who come here don't really have any expectations of winning anything. And they just come out here because it's such a fun time to come out. The people that you play against are top-notch. You enjoy the games, you have a great weekend, and then you go home thinking, okay, when's the next one? And that's what we want to see happen.
Totally.
So I just want to say couple things. One, I want to thank the Beer Phase for having us on and going through this. I always think these are awesome, and obviously everybody on here. We're probably completely wrong in all of our picks, and I would love to be that.
I was right every time.
No, you weren't. You couldn't even read
I have a
it.
cookie to prove it.
I didn't.
You ate that cookie.
I bet he did. The other thing I want to say is anybody watching this that happens to be somewhere in the South, there are spots still open. Even though we've gone through these 50 lists, there are absolutely more tables available, so we'd love to have you.
Last second ads, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Best type. I'll say this. I've been going to Bayou since I think the first one, or at least the second one. The only time I missed it was when I was getting married, and then I think I had something else going on one time. So I've been to almost all of them. First GT I ever went to, and that's what sold me on going to GTs. I've been to GTs all across the country, and Bayou still has that homey feeling to me. Like it just feels like home. It doesn't matter what venue they're holding it in. You go and it just seriously, like, walk in as a stranger and you walk out knowing 10 or 15 guys. You drank with them, you ate with them, you might have fallen asleep on their hotel room floor. Like, you've got best friends for life, and then you come back a year later and the exact same thing happens. Like, that's not a fluke. Like, that's Bayou. You do that every year, year in, year out. We drink until 3 or 4 a.m. in the atrium, or in the downstairs lobby, or until somebody kicks us out. Like, that's just what it is, and it's a great experience. Anybody that hasn't gone to it needs to go to it. Anybody who is going to it is going to find out this weekend of how great it is, and how, yeah, the game may be different, but the atmosphere and the culture is still the exact same. I'm already looking forward to it. I'm upset that I have to work one more day and then come down on Friday. But I don't know about the rest of you, but Bayou's always top on my list where I'm not going to miss it.
Speaking of new and different venue and everything, we are in a new venue this year. We're over in the Energy Corridor at the Wyndham. So we're at the I-10 and Highway 6. It's right across from a Topgolf. There are multiple bars within walking distance. Seems like a really cool place and a lot of good fun. Bayou was also my first GT I ever went to. Jeff Daniels got me to go to it, and that changed everything I've ever done. Like, that's been my life ever since. It's going, having fun at GTs and making friends and just having a good time. So
that's where I
this is the good one to come to.
Man.
I know.
Where I fucking met you was at Bayou.
I met you and Rick there, and I met Jeff up in Dallas at the Scott Hakula GT Invitational only. Oh, but yeah, I mean, Bayou's great. It's always fun. You walk in, you do have a lot of good people. It's usually, I can't go any more than that, man. You're gonna have a great time. Anyone who comes out loves it. It's always a good blast.
And speaking of, people coming back to Bayou year after year, there's only one person now who's going to be at every single Bayou Battles, and it's Jason Johnson from Arkansas. Not even one of the local guys has come back every single year.
Jason fucking
Johnson is the only one who's going to be playing in 13 straight Bayou Battles. The only other person who's been at all of them has been me. I played in the first two, and I've been running it ever since. So, we got to have, some props to him for making that trek by himself. That's a good 9.5-hour drive from Little Rock to get over here. So let's buy him beers all weekend long.
And it's totally worth it. Totally worth that 9-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried he wasn't going to make it. I was glad to see he was on the roster.
Yeah, he was kind of a late addition. I emailed him a couple of times, and I didn't hear back from him, so I was a little bit worried. And then out of the blue, he responds that he's coming, so I'm glad to have him back.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, I think we got it closed out. Anybody have any last-second things to add?
Justin Belusic sucks.
That is true. Accurate statements are accurate.
Thank you. There we go. I'm done.
Anything else?
We need to put him on his vag clock.
Yeah, we got to put him on the bedazzled clock.
Bedazzled clock.
But
All right, guys.
All right.
we'll
Thanks, Mark.
close it out. Yeah, no,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
y'all. Thank you everybody for showing up and watching and getting through this. Wow, that was like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Solid work, everybody. Time flies when you're having fun. We will see you guys in 2 days. Saturday
All right.
morning, 8 a.m. Nice and hungover.